The following lecture is primarily for the entertainment of the viewers, and secondarily, an actual source of A Song of Ice and Fire lore. There will be errors, though many are either for comedic effort, or just clarity in the case of moving around order of events, but there will be errors. This is for fun, and to hopefully be a jumping off point for those too intimidated by the vast lore of the series. Finally, there will be random cuts on 2 occasions that we ran out of memory on the micro SD card. Thank you. Love you guys.
Habsburgs, right?
Yes!
I don't know, I just heard it was about some royal family.
Sorry guys, I know I'm not your regular professor, but he got caught up in a sex trafficking sting.
Substitute?
He's not going to make class today until he makes bail. So I'm going to be your substitute today. But don't worry, I Googled the subject while on ketamine, watched every Preston Jacobs video.
Ooh, okay.
And now I'm perfectly capable of teaching about the history of the Targaryen Dynasty, which is one of the main families in the Game of Thrones TV show, also a book series. So that's pretty much what we're going to go over today, and there will be a quiz.
And this is quiz last time.
This is based off of a book series?
Yes, that's correct.
We were learning real history.
I think
This,
I'm out of here.
if you do enough ketamine, it is real
I
history.
think I'm gonna be out.
Okay, he's leaving.
I
But don't worry.
I don't have any rules to be.
I'm gonna fail him if they give me the power to do that. And okay, so basically, desert planet of Arrakis. Okay, the spice must flow.
I don't think
Okay,
this is Game
Paul
of Thrones.
Newman gets wet.
I made bail!
Is this Dune?
Oh, fuck!
Oh, God.
Oh, okay.
You want to?
Please
This
don't.
is my classroom.
Okay.
You understand me?
I-
This is my.
Yes.
It's my classroom.
Professor, he was trying to teach us.
Oh fuck!
Okay.
All right.
Professor, he was trying to teach us about a space odyssey.
Yeah.
Well,
Sometimes you gotta give him the stone cold
who
stunner.
paid your fucking bail?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
got
bunch of
invested.
All the money he made sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Jesse, then.
Hello there. So.
I just turn this like the handle if I
Yeah,
want to
If
pan.
you unscrew it,
Now
you
we
can
gotta
turn it
cut
on.
some.
All right. How's everybody doing?
Oh,
It's
why?
been a year. Yeah.
No,
It has
I
been
can
a while.
drink now.
He can legally drink now.
Yeah.
So, okay.
You know your age? We don't know your address yet. So if you wanna leave
We're gonna
that,
say it
you
at
can
the
do that.
end. If he gets the most demerits, we're
Yeah, we
giving
should
him
we can
his
we should
address.
dox.
No.
Okay, so
Dox Gorman.
order in the classroom. Now I'm back in fucking charge.
Yeah!
Yeah. What do you think of my outfit?
I like that.
Good. Yeah.
I like that
Okay.
a lot.
So one of the greatest book series of all time is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. He's a cute guy. He's got a lot of big ideas.
Cheers.
He's a real sexy
Is he
dude.
as cute as our assistant lecturer over here?
Not as cute. This is the Crow's Eye.
Orlando, can you move over so the viewers can see?
Huh?
You're blocking.
Yes.
There you go.
This
There
is
we
the
go. We can
Crow's
see
Eye
Alright.
of Leonardo
Very,
House
very,
Greyjoy.
very cute.
Very
nice.
cute.
Yeah.
But where'd the Sharpie go? I need it.
No,
Yeah.
you need-
Snip it?
I'll grab one. No, for demerits.
Oh. Okay.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to be running through probably the most important family, not probably, the most important family in the history of this book series.
According to
we're-
who?
Me
Oh.
and the author.
Yeah, okay.
Because there's the main book series for 5 books, which take place in primarily in 298 AC. That's after the conquest.
It's after Jesus.
After Jesus. And the word of the day, which you cannot say, is dragon. So there's going to be a lot of dragons, dragon blood, dragon folk.
Nuts.
Just don't say that.
Bad dragon.
Can I say the Skyrim word equivalent?
What's that? Dova?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say Dova.
Dova.
That's fine. That's fine. But I'm going to introduce you first to the world The Song of Ice and Fire takes place in.
Yeah.
So first, I'm just going to let you know about the geography. I'll do this in front just while I'm looking at the map.
Yeah, go crazy.
But so here, this is a continent called Essos. You can think of it as sort of like the Mediterranean, like medieval Europe, Mediterranean. And then as you go further east, it sort of becomes China, like the steppe, stuff like that. But that's off map. This is Valyria. It's a peninsula we're going to be concerned with in a second. But think of it as sort of like our fantasy Rome equivalent, because we
Okay.
have to have one.
Cool.
Where the rest of the series will take place in is this continent called Westeros, which is sort of like Western Europe, but especially the British Isles.
Got it.
And that's sort of the analog. So Essos goes this way. There's a southern continent called Sisorios, which is roughly Africa.
Okay.
Sort of that. If you were to keep going here, there's a place called Yiti, which is sort of like China.
Extraterrestrial?
Yiti.
Oh, okay.
Yiti.
Yeah, this is
Um,
like a yeet.
Without further ado, I'll get my notes. So this is
It really
situated-
shrunk Ireland.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel? Does
I don't
that
know.
upset your
They broke it
heritage?
and they made it a lot of little islands.
Oh, one moment. I have to go get Roman. We will cut here.
Okay.
Yes, the beast.
Do you
from
want-
Warhound.
Yeah.
I just
You need me to
assume
cut
you
it,
just
I
want me to
can-
pan if you go out of screen.
Yeah, yeah. That was just
Not
how was
really
the
zoom
stunner,
or
by the way?
anything.
Did it look good?
I don't. I
Yeah,
just
he's
see
still-
on the
Guys,
camera.
how did the stunner look?
I thought it looked good.
All right, I'll be right back.
Okay, we are still recording. I'm gonna do my fit check right now. So I'm wearing this. Got this shirt
Very
on.
descriptive.
I don't have the brands for any of this. I wanted to show them my T-shirt though.
I'm wearing
so
a
I'm gonna go
Zelda
over here.
hat.
That's kind of cute. I'm taking off the Tally Hall sweatshirt for now though. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I want to show them all my Freddy Fazbear shirt. Or Freddy Fazbear. Let me back up. You want to do a pose?
Nah, just fucking around with the pool stick.
Yeah, that's good. That's good
Brief
stuff.
recess before we start the proper thing. Begin my notes.
I put on the Fazbear shirt.
I took the executive decision. I thought it'd be funnier if I went shirtless. when
Yeah, I liked
beginning.
it. I liked it.
Probably
You
hit a
should go
wrestling
shirtless
move.
more often.
Yeah.
Ah, he's engaged.
That was the Stone Cold Stunner, Steve Austin's finisher. That's one of the cushions over there. You fairly acquainted with this geography now, though?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So
We've got
We're gonna go
not
to the wall.
France, not China,
Yeah.
not Italy,
yeah,
not England, and not Ireland.
yeah.
Is this the ice wall? Is this a flat Earth?
That's an ice wall.
Yeah.
It's round. It's a round Earth.
Oh.
Is it a hollow Earth?
Unclear.
Unclear.
It
Maybe
could
this is
be.
in the
Alright.
hollow Earth.
All of the
Take
ice
these
on these
folks,
could
we can
live
show
in
you
the
the
hollow
story.
Earth.
Hey, shut it. Thank you.
Yeah, shut it. Get it out.
Alright. You know when you're all situated, then I'll start talking about the world.
Yeah, give me more of those juicy
Alright, you guys good? You
Yes.
can see the screen over there?
Mhm.
Alright, cool. Okay, so, this is a magical world. It is not just regular, like, sort of fancy Europe. One of the big things is there are dragons. Which, remember, don't say that
Yes,
word.
yes. Dope. They're
Yeah.
So, there are dragons, and they first appear, at least in recorded history, over in the 14 Flames, which are volcanoes over here in the Valyrian Peninsula. However,
They're from
they're-
the Hollow Earth.
what?
They're from the Hollow Earth?
Yeah.
Well, so
That's
there
in the
is
hollow
actually a
Earth.
story that
Oh.
there used to be a second moon, and that moon cracked open, and dragons came from that egg.
Oh.
And so it's possible that dragons came from the sky. There's a lot of stuff. There's a prominent fan theory called moon meteors.
Okay.
Primarily, there's a guy named David Lightbringer on YouTube who's sort of the moon meteor idea, who thinks that a lot of the events this are sort of because of that asteroid that took out the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That there's sort of a magic version of this going on with sort of ecological stuff that's going on. So it is possible that dragons came from a second moon or an asteroid. A long time ago,
So they are ET.
before this,
Yeah,
a little bit
for
over
real.
here, there's a mythological entity known as the
Are there other mythical creatures?
Yeah,
Are there, like
so-
elves?
Yeah, so there's things called children of the forest who live over here in prehistory times. There's sort of like elf, fae,
Okay.
That's kinda
little
cool.
things. I'm not going to go super into that sort of prehistory because we're primarily concerned with the Targaryens here.
Yeah.
Okay.
To keep this brief instead
And
of
they're all
making-
humans.
who
The
like
Targaryens.
yeah, all the principal characters are humans. But there's an area over here named Ashai, which is a ruined city. But around there was a civilization called the Great Empire of the Dawn. A lot of this will be speculation. I will clarify that I will get things wrong, and there will be some speculation, but I am trying to construct a cohesive narrative.
You look like an authority to me.
I know, right?
Yeah,
That looks so cool.
I think that looks like somebody you can trust.
But there is
That's true.
something called the Great Empire of the Dawn, which at least spans for most of Essos, because Essos continues off-screen, like, really far.
Yeah.
We don't know how
We've
far.
got Asia over there.
Yeah, there's an area where like Mongols roam called the
Ooh.
Dothraki Sea. The
That's
Dothraki
cool.
are like Mongol sorts of guys.
Yeah.
Then you get ET, and past that there's like it's sort of like here would be dragons type stuff.
Oh yeah.
You get more and more absurd tales of like, oh, there's a civilization of fish people that's
Sure.
probably actually real because there's some Lovecraftian stuff
Oh
going on.
yeah.
Anyways, the Great
Same.
Empire of the Dawn exists
and
it's probable that they were dragon riders.
Oh,
So, whereas contemporary history tells us that the Valyrians were the first people to master dragons, it's probable that the Great Empire of the Dawn people did that. And the later Valyrians are probably in some way descended from them, or at least related to a section of that empire.
Okay.
However, there becomes a ruination when the Great Empire of the Dawn have a guy named the Bloodstone Emperor, who's a great guy, as you can tell.
Oh, yeah.
And he usurps his sister, and he performs a sort of ritual that causes a huge comet to come down to Earth. And this is where we get this dinosaur sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where the comet explodes, dust comes up, and you get the first long night. The long night is said to be a night that lasts a generation. I don't know exactly how that works with like
So it's like-
agriculture.
Yeah, it's like a little ice age.
Why
that
would he
kind of
do
floods up
that?
all the
He was worshipped a oily black stone.
Oh.
That's like a Lovecraftian
Lovely.
deep one sort of thing.
Right.
In blotting out the sky, you're gonna see there's like 4 elemental magics in this universe. There's sort of fire. There's the deep, like sort of the Lovecraftian stuff. There's cold, and there's sort of like earth green magic. The deep and the ice seem to be loosely aligned. But demons come from the north in both Essos and in the north. There are these things called the Others in the book series. In the TV show, there's known as the White Walkers. They're ice zombies. Think of like liches made of ice.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
cool. That's so cool.
And eventually a hero named Azor Ahai vanquishes them. He uses a flaming sword called Lightbringer to vanquish them. That could be a metaphor for dragons themselves.
Okay.
It's possible that that comet that caused the long night also brought dragons. It's that same moon meteor. All possible, but this is mytho-history of this universe. So
Pokemon logic applied. Wouldn't those scaly beasts be not great against ice?
they're natural enemies. Like
Okay.
the White Walkers, as we know, they can't be killed through normal means. You can keep chipping at them with a sword. They just won't do shit. The only things that will do it are Valyrian steel, which will be steel made by the Valyrian people that have fire magic infused within it,
That's
or
cool.
dragon glass, which is obsidian,
Wow.
volcanic
The
glass.
fire-
That's
Cool.
cool.
Yeah.
It's implied the fire of dragons also can kill.
The fire dragons
can kill
probably.
them,
We
right?
haven't seen it happen
Does
yet.
the
It's
cameraman
probably
also
true.
apply?
No.
And we're-
No.
Okay.
He's sort of
I have
my
immunity.
capo in terms of also knowing a lot of the lore, so he's gonna have
I'm
to
his
clarify
snitch.
at times.
The White Walkers.
Okay.
They are like sentient, or they're like zombies.
Probably. Well, some of them, they have whites, they raise armies of the dead that are not sentient, but they are likely sentient.
It's like a Fallout Ghoul type situation where you got like the feral ones, but then you got like the.
Sort, sure.
It's kind
But
of like
they're-
with
They're
liches,
still there.
where it's like one really smart undead guy
Oh, yeah,
raises
yeah,
like
yeah,
500
yeah.
minions.
But it said that they we only get like a few glimpses of them in the book series, but like they have their own language.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
They,
So yeah,
they,
they're
they
sentient
laugh.
enough.
They're like
Yeah.
sadistic
Yeah,
as
I
they're
see.
killing
I
people.
see.
Anyways, eventually that Great Empire of the Dawn has its demise, long night, that's sort of like, that's like their flood myth. Like every culture that we know in this known world has a long night myth, and they give a different name to Azor Ahai, the hero. But eventually, long after that, like 1,000 or so years ago, Valyria, the story as it is that we know in Orthodox history in the world is that a bunch of sheep herders who are the ancestors of the Valyrians find dragons in the 14 Flames, and they somehow are able to master them. Now, it's the professor's opinion that dragons definitely existed in the world before this. I think they came from the moon meteors.
Okay.
So I don't think this was new. I think the knowledge...
They came from the space and they immigrated to the Hollow Earth. And lived
Yes.
in the-
yeah.
But I think that the knowledge of how to get dragons was probably already known. And this is where we get into Valyrian blood magic. It's
Ooh.
thought that
Good.
Valyrians have the blood of the dragon.
Fair.
Now that's
Well,
known.
keen.
Yes. How literal? Yes.
Does that mean they had sex with dragons?
Possible.
Oh,
In
no.
the show House of the Dragon, which is a prequel series to Game of Thrones, there are tapestries on the wall of humans having sex with dragons.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What position?
Is it doggy style? I think.
I don't.
think
I
the
don't.
dragons-
Unlike you, I don't frequently
The
look at
dragons-
this to
I think
remember it.
dragons doing that.
Huh.
But
Interesting.
So
so
the dragon's topping?
Man, that's
Yeah.
freaky.
I would hope so.
So,
I don't
that's
know.
some, like,
the
television?
Valyrians.
That's what you would.
Valyrians frequently have fertility issues. Sort of like you know how
Right, 'cause
like
crossbreeding can do that.
yeah, they have
Yeah.
fertility issues. They
and
all
incest,
have
right?
what?
Like, aren't most of them practicing incest?
Most of them are practicing incest.
Of course.
They
That's all
have
European
ethereal.
society.
They have ethereal silver, gold hair, and purple eyes.
That's
And
cool.
they all have ethereal beauty aside from the ones that are really fucked up inbred.
Okay.
But like the Targaryen dynasty is said to be more god than man, and the Valyrians in general, like when they say they have the blood of the dragon, it's left up for interpretation how literal that is.
Be fully literal, bro.
Yes, for all we know, that is fully literal. And they go on to conquer basically all of Essos. I don't think they get to ET, but at least all of onto the map. And they get all the dragons in the peninsula. They're possibly, like I said, some sort of hybridized dragon thing, and they all have a connection with their dragon. One
Sexual
Valyrian.
relation.
One Valyrian
Yeah.
rides one dragon. They bond with the dragon, typically at a young age. Sometimes they'll put a dragon egg in the cradle with the baby, and then it'll hatch. And
they're
often,
grooming them.
if a kid hatches with a dragon, they'll be less sickly as a child. So there's some sort
Oh,
of
that's cool.
there's some sort of life force connection
Yeah.
going on here. Anyways, they do a bunch of genocide and rape,
Of course,
and they
as
conquer
all
they
empires
conquer
do.
all of Essos that's on the map, slaving, raping,
Yeah.
all the things that
Empire,
they do. They create the Valyrian freehold, very free for the Valyrians. It is not a monarchy. It is a Roman Republic. They
Okay.
elect freeholders, and just like the Roman Republic, fuck ton of slaves.
Oh,
It's speculated they say that there's a place in Sistorios down here. But they have a bunch of blood magic. They have a city just for blood magic. I think it's
Ooh.
called Gorgassos, but I
Of course
I think it's called
Gore.
Detroit.
Yeah.
It's called Detroit.
Yeah.
And they mate slave women with like animals and create
Oh.
disgusting, fucked up, half human hybrids.
This is where the
Okay,
Minotaur comes from.
Yeah. And the Valyrians were gonna say not the coolest guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the opinion of the lecturer.
Cool.
And
They're
so
really
they have
animals.
a big. They said there are 80 families that have dragons.
Okay.
80 dragon lord families.
That's
And-
terrifying.
And just like the Roman Republic, they're always warring within themselves,
Right.
and dragons are sort of like nukes in this world.
Right.
Like they're
You don't bring a Dova to
Yeah,
a
okay.
sword
Well
fight.
done. Well done.
Okay. So eventually, however, there's a minor family in Valyria. They still have a dragon, but they're among the lower rung of the families that have dragons. They have, I think, about half
A dozen?
a dozen dragons.
Lot.
Sorry,
for a
five.
level.
5 dragons. And they're called House Targaryen. Their lord, his name is Aenar, who later became known as Aenar the Exile. And the Targaryens, we don't know if this is true of all Valyrians, but at least the Targaryens have prophetic dreams. They call them dragon dreams.
Okay.
That's cool.
And
That
his
word is coming up a lot.
yeah. Let's see why I chose it. You gonna load this while this?
Oh yeah, I forgot we shoot them if
Yeah,
they
you're
say.
gonna load this.
And you want the
there's,
dark
a,
side?
there's a dark bolt behind you. That he has Aenar the Exile has a daughter named Daenerys.
Okay.
Daenerys the Dreamer. And once again, I just remember you incest. I believe his daughter is married to his son. They do sibling incest normally. Occasionally, there's uncle niece, a lot of cousin. They don't do
Parent child.
yeah, they don't do parent child. That's
Okay,
where they draw the
But it's
line.
because they're
Okay.
like royal families, right? They wanna
Sure.
keep it in the
Well, it's
family.
because they have dragon blood.
Right.
Yeah.
They literally. I This is more.
Yes, this is more defendable than
Yes,
real life
real
incest
life.
because.
Alright, clip this out of context.
But
Yeah.
dragon blood is important to being able to control the dragons,
Yeah,
as we
okay.
know.
Which is
We see later in the book series a guy named Quentin who has maybe like
My brother.
1/16 dragon blood who tries to claim a dragon and it does not go well for him. Not according to Preston Jacobs, but anyways.
My other brother.
No, unrelated figure of Preston Jacobs. But the Danes the Dreamer has a dream that the volcanoes go in sort of Mount Vesuvius style.
Oh,
And
okay.
so Aenar the Exile says,
The
I'm going
Hogwarts
to take
thing.
my 5 dragons, including one named Balerion, Balerion the Black Dread.
Okay.
And they flee from Valyria to this bumfuck little area. It's a little island right here called
Wow.
Dragonstone. Which is over in Westeros. Westeros at the time is a bunch of warring kingdoms. There's the North, ruled by House Stark. They're wargs. They have what's called wolf blood. They can sometimes like
They fuck wolves?
control
werewolves.
animals with their mind. What?
Did they fuck wolves to get the wolf blood?
Are there werewolves?
No,
Ah.
that's
not how we
nice.
think of them. But many in their blood are green seers. Like they can have prophetic visions from the
Okay.
old gods. They all follow the old gods, which are these gods who talk to them through these trees called weirwoods, who have faces carved into them.
Oh, that's
So they're
sick.
not werewolves, but they talk to werewood.
Yes, they
Yeah,
talk to
that's
werewood.
cool.
There's the Vale, ruled by House Aaron. The Falcon Kings. Their sigil
They
is the
fuck
falcon.
falcons?
No, but they're.
Yeah,
One of them probably
See,
did.
the joke is with how many half-human hybrid stuff, it's.
Oh.
Okay.
We'll get to fucking fish soon.
What?
We'll get to fucking fish
We'll get to
soon.
fucking fish in a bit.
Yeah.
The Vale, their House Aaron are their kings. Their sigil is the falcon. Down in Dorne, they have House Martell, who are a really interesting thing. They're a culture both based on like Moorish Spain, a little bit of like Israel / like Palestine, like medieval contemporary
So
stuff.
they really fucking hate themselves, and they're also kind of Middle Eastern.
Oh, they're sort of Middle Eastern. They're sort of like Spanish.
Okay.
They have more gender equality.
Oh, good.
In that they
Right.
almost everywhere in I wouldn't go that far. Almost everywhere in here does like feudalism where like oldest son inherits.
Yeah.
This is the one place in
Primogeniture?
Dorne where it's just oldest child inherits. Yeah,
Got it,
primogeniture.
okay.
Yeah.
Dorne's origin story is kind of like Israel, but they're basically just Spain, right?
Yeah. They have an Exodus story where they were originally slaves who had to flee from Valyria. People who are going to be enslaved by Valyria who had to flee. We have the Reach, and there's a place called House Gardener.
Markarth, the Reach?
Yes. The Reach, agricultural breadbasket of Westeros, super fertile. They're descended from a mythical king named
Solomon.
Garth
Greenhand?
Garth Greenhand, who's like, I don't know if anyone's seen either Gawain the Green Knight or they understand green men in sort of Celtic, like Gaelic folklore. But it's like a connection to some sort of fae folk, probably the children of the forest, who are those green magic people.
The elves.
They're the Westerlands, home to House Lannister. At Casterly Rock, their sigil is the lion. No, they're not fuck lions.
Okay.
Well.
They do
the
fuck
river-
each
They
other.
didn't say they have
The
lions.
Riverlands we'll get to in a bit, but the Riverlands are
Do they
like
have lions?
the Riverlands are like the Poland of this. Like they're
Ah,
always
okay.
just
They're
getting
just getting
getting
eaten
they're
all
getting
the time.
devoured.
They're
Always.
getting partitioned.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes. And then we have this place called the Iron Islands. The Iron Islands are
That's where you
descended
get
from
Riolu, right?
what?
That's where you get Riolu in Pokemon Platinum.
Yes. You get their house. The leader is House Greyjoy. Later it will be in the time of the series. At the time of this, House Whore. Yes, that's what it's called.
It's spelled different. H-O-O-R?
Yeah, but they're Vikings.
Ooh,
They
that's
worship
cool.
Cthulhu, the drowned
Oh,
god.
hell yeah, that's sick.
They're
That's
probably related to these things called the Deep Ones. So they
Ah,
definitely
really?
Are
fucked.
those the
That's
fish
it.
people?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they
that's
definitely
cool.
fucked fish people. Their founder was a guy called the Grey King, who's definitely half fish or some shit,
Okay.
who slayed a
He's a
massive.
merman. Cool.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there,
Yeah.
are there any people in the islands in between? Like
These
right there,
are Stepstones Islands. They're primarily held by pirates because it's a great place
Oh,
to
yeah.
attack ships that are trying to trade.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But the Targaryens land here in this area called the Crownlands. It's sort of like a shitty place because there's some farmland here, but it's very rocky. This place is called Crackclaw Point. That's another hot spot for those deep ones. They call them squishers regionally there. But there are stories of like these like where they go like steal off women and like fuck them and they create hybrids. And it's said that everyone like in the Crackclaw Point have a sort of fishy look to them. Like they're pretty fucked up looking. So that's based on Baltimore.
That's funny.
But they end up here. Dragonstone, the reason they chose as an outpost is because it is volcanic. They have dragon glass, and dragons like to live in volcanoes, and they hatch them in volcanoes a lot of times. So the Targaryens set up here in Dragonstone. They also bring with them a few Valyrian houses that are vassals who are not dragon lords. Yeah.
You said that they only had 5 of the scaly beasts.
Yes.
Does that mean that they also practice incest?
The dragons, we don't know the ins and outs of dragon reproduction. They brought with them a ton of eggs.
They just go to the volcano.
Yeah.
They just.
I don't think there's anything that talks about how they fertilize
bubble
the
up
eggs,
from
right?
Yeah.
the
We're not sure. We know the dragons lay eggs. They make reference to she dragons and male dragons. So there's probably some sort of reproduction going on.
I'm just asking about the incest because all of the context I know is that there's a lot of incest.
Oh yeah. So there's some sort of vaguely sexual reproduction going on with the dragons. We don't know how they're fertilized, for instance, but they come over with a bunch of eggs and 5 dragons. What goes on next is called the Century of Blood because the volcano does erupt. It kills all of the dragon lords except for the Targaryens.
Oh my god.
I will note the Targaryens are over here, and I said they had 2 houses that came with them that are Valyrian but not dragon lords. One is House of Valarion. Their sigil is the seahorse.
That's kind of cool.
They are masters of ships. They're the greatest naval power.
They are the British.
Yeah.
And also House Celtigar, whose sigil is the crab. And they're very greedy and they don't like to leave their rock.
Cool.
And they came over with a Valyrian steel weapon. The Celtigars have a Valyrian steel battle axe. Valyrian steel is stronger and lighter than any other alloy.
They only have one? They only have one battle axe, maybe?
Yeah. The Targaryens have 2 swords. One is Blackfire, which is wielded by the head of the house.
Starfire
sisters.
Yeah. It's a black steel, like big ol' ass sword, and
cool.
Dark Sister, which is typically wielded by a female warrior. It's like the twin to that blade. And so if there's like a lord and lady of House Targaryen, normally that's how the Dark Sister and Blackfire is given up.
Brother husband.
Yes, that happens quite a bit. And the flames do erupt, kills all the dragon lords. There's one dragon lord is like on vacation, literally. And he's like, shit, I can now go claim Valyria, but he goes with his dragon and he's never seen again because he goes into the smoking ruins of Valyria.
Oh yeah,
the smoking ruins of Valyria are said to be cursed. There's a sickness known as grayscale, which seems to be centered there. Yes.
Because it wasn't just a regular explosion; it was an evil magic explosion.
It was an evil
right?
magic explosion
From
because
the moon
it said that there were a bunch of blood sorcerers which kept the 14 flames from erupting. And there was infighting going on, and maybe they got killed and they lost control. But they fucked with the magic volcano, and it did not end well for them.
Yeah.
What time are we at on the lecture?
I don't know. I think the clock isn't counting up just one long timer.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just showing like 6 minutes and counting up right now, but I think that maybe it does every 10 or something.
Okay, whatever.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter as long as it's going.
Yeah, it's still going.
So that is known as the Doom of Valyria. After this, there's an area called the Century of Blood, where the only dragon riders are over here in House Targaryen. They're sort of biding their time. All the former colonies start fighting amongst each other. That's why it's the Century of Blood. There's no more a unifying power in the region. Yeah.
What happened to all the Dovas over in...
They're chilling.
So they lived through the volcano.
They outlived the volcano.
Well, because they aren't there. They're over here.
Okay, but so all of the ones that were there.
Yeah, but
Yes.
all the ones over there are done for?
Yes.
Okay.
Now the last dragon riders in all of
The world live in London.
they all live in Dragonstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
London.
And
I can't say the other one, so it's London.
those other
Yeah. Yeah.
The other houses they sometimes intermarry with to keep Valyrian blood pure.
Yeah.
So if there is no sister to marry, they might marry House Valerion. House Celtigar, there's never outright said they marry into House Celtigar, but I believe there's some mention of House Celtigar being a distant cousin of one of them. So that probably happens, but House Celtigar implied to be like no better than peasants in Valyria, and they're probably only here because they have the Valyrian blood, just in case they need to fuck some of them. So what happens is a century of blood. And 4 of the 5 dragons die, aside from Balerion, the Black Dread. But they have 2 more dragons that are hatched, Meraxes and Vagar. And so generations ensue of Targaryens until we end up with 3 principal Targaryens. There is Aegon Targaryen. We have
Pictured on the board,
here
yeah.
as a Chad.
Oh,
yes.
Chad.
He wields Blackfire, and he rides the dragon Balerion, the largest dragon in all of Targaryen
The
history.
only dragon remaining.
Targaryen. Well, now there's 2 more.
Okay, that's true.
But
The
he's
last
the
Oh,
last.
he just
he's
said
the
it.
Oh
last-
fuck! I said
he's
the
la-
word.
He's the last living thing that saw Valyria.
Put a demerit on the
Yeah.
board.
He's the last living thing that saw Valyria.
It was worth it.
But he gets very big. They say he gets so big that he could ride a stallion down into its mouth. Like, that's how big he gets.
Freaky. Oh my
He gets
goodness.
huge. There's a lot of very cool art of him riding Valerion. Just pay attention to make sure it doesn't stop recording whenever it hits the storage thing.
Mm-hmm.
He has a sister wife named Visenya, who is his oldest sister. She wields Dark Sister, and she rides the dragon Vagar. And he has another sister named Rhaenys. And he also marries his other sister.
Okay.
This is not standard practice. Polygamy, this is sort of a one-off thing. But they say he married his older sister for duty, and his younger sister for love.
Aw.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cute.
I mean, a little bit.
Now the polygamy, this sets a weird precedent because there'll be people who try to revive the polygamy, but we don't know if that's the thing that was common in Valyria or not. Maybe they have multiple concubines or something like that.
Yeah.
But Aegon marries both of his sisters. It's my personal theory that there's probably more gender equality in Valyria for the sole fact that if a woman also has a dragon, that makes succession a lot more even.
Yeah.
So when it textually says he married his older sister for duty, that's probably because she also has a big fuck off dragon.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't want a huge
right.
war of succession where both
Yeah.
sides had nukes.
Yeah, and so his uncle, his mom was one of the Valerions. He has Valerian cousins, so they're all intermarried there. But this is where we go into Aegon's dream. Aegon in the show House of the Dragon, it's probably true in the books.
Yeah.
One day Aegon decides he has to conquer all of Westeros.
As
In
one
the
does.
show, and we don't know exactly why in the books, but in the show it said he had a dream that he saw doom coming from the north. The return of the others, the White Walkers.
Winter is
Oh.
coming.
And so, yes, winter is coming. So he thought he had to unify the realm, probably, in order to
Fight the ice zombies.
fight the Ice Zombies. And that's probably a fairly defensible thing. However, this creates precedent that basically every Targaryen thinks that they're going to be the ones who's the prophetic hero. And that leads to a lot of folly and sort of a Greek tragedy prophecy sort of way.
Yeah.
For him, it more or less works out. He also has a bastard brother named Oris.
Like
Who
bastard
is-
brothers.
Yeah, he's a solid
Oh, yeah.
fucking dude. He's like 6.5 feet tall.
Oh, yeah,
Whereas all the
wow.
Valyrians have silver hair, he's got jet black hair. And later he'll be given the name Baratheon when he's given his own like cadet branch sort of
Okay.
House Baratheon. But he's like a big fuck off soldier guy. And he's
That's pretty sick.
Aegon keeps to himself a lot. His really only confidants are his sisters and his brother, who he doesn't fuck that we know of.
Okay. He
Um,
doesn't
uh,
fuck his brother.
So yeah,
Oh,
that we know
yeah.
of. And they're bros, and he's his strong right hand, Oris
Yeah.
Baratheon.
Right.
And so at one point, some of the free cities basically pay him to use his dragon to fight each other, but then, the dream, as the show introduces, I would guess it's probably true in the book canon as well. He has a dream that he decides he wants to unify the land. Everyone, because they have nukes, and they're the last ones to have so, this becomes very attractive for people to court there. And there's in the
Yeah.
Riverlands, the Iron Isles, the Vikings, they have conquered the Riverlands.
Oh.
And House Hor, the king is Harren Hor, has conquered all of that, and he's built a giant castle called Harrenhal, the largest castle in all of the land.
Can we get ever?
And he's called Harren the Black. Well, he'll be called that later. Can we get a sure? Harren the Black, Harren the Black, Harren the Black. Woo! Yeah.
Much better than Harren Whore.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an improvement.
So there's a
Harren
guy
the
over
Black
here in the
Order.
Stormlands. One of the kingdoms I forgot about, but his name's Argilac Durrandanan, or Durrandon. And he proposes an alliance with Aegon. He's like, yeah.
Will you say his name 5 times fast?
Argilac Durrandon, Argilac Durrandon, Argilac Durrandon, Argilac Durrandon, Argilac Durrandon.
Or you threw an L in there. One more
yeah.
time.
That was so well done.
But he proposes, his heir is his daughter Argella. He proposes an alliance of marriage between his daughter and Aegon, because he wants to create a buffer, and he wants to marry into the dragon family, because he's afraid of Harren Hor. Harren the Black.
Yeah, sure.
And Harren the Black, by the way, he builds it with slaves, the castle, and then puts their blood into the foundation, and totally doesn't mega curse his castle.
yeah, sure, yeah. Sure, that won't come back to haunt him.
Yeah.
I'm going to build my castle
and
on the
so
gravesite of a
he
bunch of
proposes
slaves.
marriage
Ancient
to
sins.
Aegon,
Ancient
Argilac, that is.
Yes.
Argilac's like, I already have 2 wives. I don't need another one.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
counter proposes that they marry his brother Oris
Yeah.
to
why not?
Argella
Why not?
as their alliance.
Gotta look out for his bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Argilac
that's
sends
awesome.
back the hands, the severed hands of the envoys that he sent there.
Oh,
the
that's
counter-proposal.
that's a big fucking
Yeah,
no-no.
and he says these are the only hands your bastard will have of my daughter.
That's so mean. Why would he do that?
Yeah, this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So Aegon calls his banners.
Don't fuck with the envoys.
And he sends ravens. People communicate via raven, like carrier pigeon sort of.
Okay.
And he sends it to all the rulers in Westeros. He said there will be only one king in Westeros, and that those who bend the knee to him will keep their lands and titles, and those who not, he will destroy.
With his creatures.
Yeah.
Scaly beasts.
Yeah, the scaly beast. And basically, everyone rejects this.
Yeah,
The only people, which is weird, because like dragon.
Right.
The
We're
only
going to
people-
torch your cities if you don't.
But they got a lot of
Now, some
people.
people immediately close to him do not Cracklaw Point, but some area in the Crown Lands do submit because they're within dragoning distance.
Yeah, right.
They're not safe.
The Crown Lands, those that don't submit in here are captured pretty quickly by his sisters, who just go on ahead.
Yeah.
And he lands in this area right here. Lands with the ships. He goes to his knee. His sister places a crown on his head of Valyrian steel. And she names him Aegon the first of his name.
Okay.
That's cool.
And this area is henceforth known as King's Landing, and the capital city will be founded here. Yeah.
Does anybody get killed by the crown because it's made out of the special metal?
No.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's a missed
That'd be so
opportunity.
cool. That'd be so cool.
And so battle is starting to happen. The Crownlands are subjugated. Unfortunately, his uncle Daemon Valerion is killed in a naval battle with the forces of the Vale. Aegon marches northwest to Harrenhal, and there's a huge victory. He wins, and eventually he burns tons of swaths of fields and army, and he camps outside of Harrenhal. Harren tries to summon a bunch of banners tries to summon the River Lords of the Riverlands.
Or,
No,
the
these are
Polish guys.
yeah,
the Polish
yeah.
guys, right?
Tries to summon them to his aid. However, they all, having been recently conquered by him, go "fuck you,"
Yeah.
and they pledge themselves under the leadership of House Tully, whose sigil is the fish, who didn't fuck fish that we
Okay.
know of.
Those are the other people.
Yeah. They bend the knee to House Targaryen, and once he wins, they'll be named the Overlords of the Riverlands.
Nice.
Edmund Tully, and Harren the Black sets out in his stronghold, and he's like, walls, dragon don't break walls.
No, they go over.
Walls big.
Yeah.
Now, I will point the Ironborn, the Vikings, are like, even the nobility are largely illiterate, so
Yes.
not the
Okay.
smartest people.
Sure.
And he's in his magic blood castle. And so he's like, I won't bend any fucking knee. I'm Herod Whore. And he's having a huge feast with all of his boys. Like all of his like sons and
big-ass
grandsons.
Bro is
Yeah.
feasting.
Yeah,
while
they're
he's in
having
danger.
it in the fucking castle.
Yeah,
It's good
yeah.
time.
Hell yeah, Herod Whore.
Now, Aegon says, when the sun sets, your line will end.
And
he's like, castle big,
Big
dragon
wall.
not so big.
No go through wall.
So when the sun sets, he rises up on Valyrian and he burns the castle. It melts. It melts parts of like the stone.
Oh, man.
His line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
his line
it's
was
now made of
ended.
obsidian.
His line
Yeah.
was ended.
So from henceforth, Harrenhal is known to be cursed.
Well, it was already cursed with all the peasant blood.
like Valyria.
Like whenever it gets awarded to like a new house, they typically die out within a few generations. Like it's mega cursed.
Okay.
So that happens.
do they get like the grayscale? Like what happens at like Valyria?
That's different. So he goes south, riding towards Storm's End, where Argilac the Hand Cutter is.
Yes, he earned a title for that. It's
Lovely.
amazing.
Yeah, while he's doing that, while Aegon's doing that, he sends one of his sisters.
He's doing one of his
Rhaenys-
sisters.
Well, he's doing both of them.
Yeah, both are right. Not
And he sends
mutually
his
exclusive.
brother and his one of his sisters down there with sisters riding the dragon, Oris just marching the Ben. There's a battle known as the Last Storm, and so the dragons can't take flight because of the storm.
Not the shout.
Yeah. So Oris fights a really hard battle, and he slays Argilac Durandon, who is henceforth known as Argilac the Arrogant,
Okay.
Nice.
in single combat. And like there's some stratagem where at one point like the dragon is like grounded and they don't see it because it hasn't taken flight, and then it burns some people.
Yeah.
So they have a tactical stealth dragon in there. And so Argella Durandon is honestly pretty badass. The army has been destroyed in the field outside, but she's like, no, I'm the Storm Queen now. Fuck dragons. This is my castle, bitch. You wanna come in? You wanna face me? I'm Argella, bitch.
Did they burn it down?
And so her own men, having just received word of what happened at Harrenhal, strip her naked, put her in chains,
Yeah.
and then send her out to the army. Oris is a very good man, and he he covers her in his robe, takes her into his camp. He tells her if he's just killed her dad. He tells her that like her dad was slain in honorable combat, and he does end up marrying her.
Okay.
And they have
This
a
is
long
the bastard.
bastard.
Okay, cool.
And he's
Yeah,
getting,
he's
he
just
takes,
a chill guy.
He's
He's
a
just
chill
all around
guy.
chill guy.
He ends up taking her because he's a bastard. He takes the name Baratheon. It's probably of some Valyrian origin.
Okay.
But he takes her sigil as his own, the stag.
Cool.
No,
and
That's a
fucking.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool sigil.
Yeah, and that's House
That's a cool
Baratheon
sigil.
founded. I assume because they were married for like 50 years and she didn't kill him in his sleep or
Yeah,
something.
Pretty
I assume
good.
they had a pretty loving
good
marriage.
match.
Yeah. Let's
So
go.
yeah.
All
and-
of that just to not marry him, to end up being married to him.
Yeah, well, I mean that was her dad's doing.
Yeah. You don't fuck with the young boys.
Visenya, the older sister, gets Cracklaw Point, where all the fucked up people are with
Good.
the switchers.
Lovely.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Next, in the Reach, King Mern Gardner IX has a mighty host. With him are Lauren Lannister.
I know
And
that name.
they command the mightiest host ever seen in Westeros. 55,000 strong, including 5,000 knights.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
And so they come together in a big field.
And they sink into the mud.
And they meet the Targaryen armies, who are, let's see, I think it's only 5,000. It's a 5,000
Okay.
They
all have long bows though, so you're
versus
fine.
55,000.
Yeah, that's
Um,
not
heavy
great for
whippers.
them.
However, it is just then that all Targaryens meet up, and all three dragons are deployed at once.
Oh.
This event becomes known as the Field of Fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it is a complete massacre. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna try to ask what happened at the
Yeah.
campfire before you said it.
It's like a dry. It's during the summer. We're getting close to the harvest. The grass is dry.
This is like a Russian winter.
This
type
is like a
scenario, but like the
perfect
opposite.
scenario for fire to
Yeah, this is the only time all 3 dragons are deployed in one battle. In it, this also wipes out the line of the Gardener Kings.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like
How
a
many
fair weapon.
survivors do we know?
Tens of thousands die.
Ugh.
Yeah.
The Lannisters manage to escape, but they end up fleeing back to their castle and then bending the knee. So they get to keep their lands. So far to keep score, House Baratheon is in charge of the Stormlands.
Yep.
The
We got
Lannisters,
bastard,
yeah.
Stormlands.
the Lannisters keep control because they bend the knee, and House Tully is in the Riverlands.
Okay, so they got 4 of the kingdoms under their control.
Yeah.
And Reach is
He
probably
marches
screwed.
for Aegon marches for Highgarden, which is the seat of the Reach. The former steward of the castle, Harlan Tyrell, yields the castle without a fight, and he is named the new steward of the Reach and like Lord of the Reach.
Cool. Halo Reach.
Yeah, the Reach.
The Vale is conquered pretty easily because
I
the,
imagine so.
they have a castle called the Eyrie, which is on top of a mountain,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much impregnable.
Yeah,
Like
but
there's
also
a
hard to resupply.
There's a bridge which is maybe 5 men could march across at once.
Oh, I see.
And so Shara Aaron is the regent for her young son. And she's like, well, fuck dragons. I'm in my castle. No one can get me.
We get
And
to
then
see
she's
another
like,
castle.
oh, yeah.
Never works
And
out,
then she's like,
though.
where is my son? And Ronald Aaron the Ninth, I believe, is playing in the
Ronald.
courtyard when Visenya swoops down on her dragon. Visenya, instead of torturing... Now, later on in historians, one of my conspiracy theories that Visenya is made to be like an evil sorceress queen later on by historians. She probably was a sorceress queen and probably was a little evil, but she's clearly not as,
She's like
fire
She's
and
not
brimstone.
sadistic.
Well, she's
Yeah,
probably
oh,
not as...
okay.
She's not one note, right?
Yeah.
So instead of killing him or whatever, she lets him go around. He wants to ride on the dragon when he sees the dragon. He's a little kid, so he's not afraid of it. And so he goes around on a lap with the dragon, and then they land. And this is right when Shara Aaron gets there. She's like, "What are you doing, my son?" She goes, "Well, your little son, the king, has just agreed to bend the knee, and so yeah, House Aaron will peacefully join us."
He went out for a joyride with
Well,
this
he's Lord
creepy ant.
Paramount. He's under the Targaryens.
Still pretty good though.
Yes,
Still
it's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good.
He gets
He's
to
a
chill
chill.
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now he's under the protection of the dragon.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty good.
He doesn't have to worry about his castle going the same way as the haunted one.
Yeah.
And he got to ride the creature.
Yeah, he did. It's honestly a pretty adorable story.
Not bad.
They say when he got on the dragon, he was a king, and when it landed, he was a lord.
Okay.
So
and nothing
Visenya-
bad happened. I mean, that was
Yeah.
a pretty
This
feel
leaves
good one.
the north and the south. The north.
What about the dome?
That's
Dorne.
the south.
That's the south.
Oh,
the very
yeah.
south. So in the north, Torrhen Stark, he brings all of his armies down this area known as the Neck, which connects the north and the south.
They're the White Walkers.
No, they're south of the White Walkers. But
Oh.
the Starks historically did battle with the armies of ice up there. Their Starks are honorable. They're good people generally. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you should mention the wall, talking about
Oh
the wall.
yeah, there's
Yeah,
a
what's
giant
the
giant
wall?
fuck off ice wall that
Okay.
separates
The
the
Black
domain of
Raiders?
House Stark. Yes, with there are humans that live past that, but they're known as barbarians. They're
Okay.
called the Free Folk, and they are barbarians. Let's be honest.
Cool.
They're they have a democratic form of government, which is cool, but they do raid and pillage. So.
Oh.
Cool.
And Torrhen brings all of his armies. Thank you for the ice wall. Yeah, there's a giant ice wall there that separates it. It was built by Bran the Builder.
And the
who was-
That is
White
an
Walkers
awesome
are above
title.
the wall.
I love the titles.
Yeah, Bran the Builder was
Yeah, the White Walkers are above it.
was the progenitor of House Stark.
Yeah,
But Torrhen Stark brings down his armies to the Neck, and they're sitting across, and they're across the river from the Targaryens. They can see the Targaryens marshaling their armies. And Torrhen's thinking, do I really want to do this? Because he's heard about the Field of Fire, he's heard about the last storm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's still rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So he consults his bastard brother. And his bastard brother's like, you send me across on a little boat, I can assassinate the dragons.
What?
I don't know if this is a good idea.
What?
he like carves arrows from a weirdwood tree, so maybe they're magic, but like.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a half thing.
I'm gonna go
That's maybe
kill
not-
giant
Torrent, however,
fire-breathing
personally,
lizards.
He goes down from a white flag. On a white flag, he comes down to
He
the
fucking
Targaryens.
false flags
No.
them?
He comes down and he bends the knee to the Targaryens.
He's chilling.
And he is known henceforth as the king who knelt, because he cared about his people. The Starks are historically, like, in the books, they are set up, book one is the good guys.
Okay.
That's
They're
fine.
honorable. Northern values, one of their mottos is, like, the lone wolf dies in the winter, but the pack survives.
Okay.
They're honorable and good, but a lot of that is just because historically in human history, cooperation means you survive the winter.
Yeah.
And everything, they're way more, they decry, like, the southern politics of the rest of Westeros.
Yeah.
Where, like, because they're way more concerned on the day-to-day survival of how harsh the North is,
Yeah.
they're more cooperative and better people because of that,
Right.
because they don't have time to
Yeah, they
scheme.
don't have
Yeah,
time
yeah,
to
yeah.
be scheming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, and with that, he is officially crowned in Old Town Aegon, and they try to invade. Dorne, but when they fly over with the dragons, they just evacuate the city and gone into the desert, so they don't really do much.
Oh.
Who crowns him in Old Town?
He converts to the Faith of the Seven. And the Faith of the Seven, think of like the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Their version of the Pope, the High Septon, crowns him. And so he adopts the Faith of Seven. Faith of Seven says you can't do incest or polygamy, but
Oh.
they make an exception for him.
Like the
He has-
Catholic Church.
Well, because he is a very scary dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
So
a scary man.
through dragon diplomacy, he is
Gun
crowned as the king.
diplomacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Just crowned. He founds King's Landing, where he takes all of the swords of his enemies, and he
yeah.
forges the Iron Throne. He melts them down with
Oh, yeah,
dragon
that's
fire,
sick. That's
and
sick.
then shapes them into a throne.
That-
Yes, you can cut yourself on it.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's
And-
huge.
And dangerous.
It's like 1,000 swords, I think, man. into
That's
it.
awesome.
That is
Yeah.
cool.
Do you have something to say?
No.
Everything is under the control of that one guy now. Then.
Yes.
Because that whole other area is just like volcano hell.
During this point, there was an interregnum when House Hor got wiped out, but it's pretty in the Iron Islands, but they're pretty quickly subjugated. There's like a weird like prophet king.
Rebecca's gonna grab something.
Okay, weird prophet king who rises up, but Aegon kills him personally with Blackfire.
Cool. Yeah.
Aegon's like he doesn't just have a dragon, like he is a Chad, like he's a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
swordsman.
Yeah.
He's a pretty fucking good warrior king.
It's a pretty great
Yeah.
story. There's a few claimants. One he kills with a sword. The other one says, "I'm going to retreat to the sea where the drowned god is," and he drowns.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm gonna go fight Poseidon.
And then he allows the Ironborn to elect their own overlord house, which they choose House Greyjoy, whose sigil is the Kraken.
That's
Ooh.
a cool one. Of all the
That's
sea
fucking
creatures,
awesome.
that's like the coolest one.
Does
So
the Kraken exist for real, or is
Oh,
it just,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
That's
Sick.
sick.
and maybe a certain Cthulhu Viking named Euron Greyjoy, who has one eye and blue lips in the book series, will later summon a Kraken.
That's
Ah,
cool.
okay.
Is it stronger than a scaly guy?
Scaly guy. You guys have been very disciplined this time. This is
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, I made one slip up.
I
I'm
did
not
it.
doing it
I
again.
did it to win.
But
So,
there are also a lot more synonyms.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like
Aegon,
soul.
Aegon has
Yeah.
Aegon has a son with his. His first son is born to his second sister, Rhaenys.
Okay.
His name is Aenys Targaryen. Don't worry, the names are going to get worse,
Okay.
more confusing.
Good.
Anal.
And he has he's
Thinking.
born with he bonds with a dragon named Quicksilver.
Okay.
And
Like
is
the
then
Marvel
they
guy.
what?
Like
Yeah.
the Marvel
Is
guy.
then they have the Dornish War, where they try to conquer Dorne.
Okay.
It gets
I
really
thought they all
Dorne,
went into the
not
desert.
Dome.
What is Dorne?
Okay, sorry. It's
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
hard to see it in the
O-R-N-E.
space. Okay, I didn't see the space.
I thought they all
over
went
here.
into the desert.
You
Oh,
want
yeah,
to
they
look
did.
and go over a desert?
Because
They're
what happens
like-
is time and time again they just fly over with their dragons and like burn the towns, but they're just not
They're
there.
just they're
They
just
glass
weird.
the fucking
I-
Like they
deserts.
went full Fremen from Dune. Like
That's sick.
They're doing like
Oh.
guerrilla warfare.
At one point, Oris Baratheon gets his hand cut off. Poor guy.
The bastard son guy.
Another
Yeah.
more hand chop.
Yeah, he has like a hand
And then-
issue.
There's gonna be a lot more with him in hands later
Oh,
on.
gosh.
Oh no.
He is named to the official position. He starts a thing called a small council, which are advisors, like sort of like a presidential cabinet.
Yeah.
Oris's name is the first hand of the king, VP. You know.
Yeah. Right.
There's master of ships, master of laws. The High Septon, or not High Septon, typically there's a Septon on there, there's the Grand Maester.
Yeah.
Maesters are like sort of ascetics, scholars, that are given to every lord. They can read, they send ravens, they're like doctors.
Yeah.
On there, am I missing anything else from the small council? A Master of Whisperers, some of them have spy masters. Yeah.
This is one thing is the reason the guy cut off his hands was a joke because he was the hand of the king, right?
Yeah.
Like he was made
Yeah.
hand of the king, and then the
So-
guy cut it off.
So the guy cut off his hand. However, unfortunately, one of his sister wives, Rhaenys, is shot down by by basically a giant. It's
Her
called
mount was?
yeah, it's called think of like a ballista. It's called a scorpion. And she is assumed dead.
From who?
The Dornish.
Dorne?
Dornish, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's assumed dead. They receive a letter that people don't know. People speculate that maybe Rhaenys was captured alive, and the letter was saying we have her as hostage. Maybe it was just like, we killed one dragon, we can get the others.
Yeah.
But regardless, the war ends in a stalemate. And Dorne is not conquered.
Wow, they actually managed to hold their
Yeah,
own.
that's impressive. That's impressive.
He has a yeah.
How many generations of this family are we going through? It's been like an hour and 45
They
minutes.
go
since we've gone through one.
they go faster. As
Okay,
we go
cool.
on.
Just needed to make sure I wasn't ready for a 12-hour
No,
lecture.
they go faster. The world building required it.
Okay, sorry.
We're going through 300 years of history.
Okay.
We've just went through a few
Not
thousand.
that
We'll
it's
get more
interesting.
specific.
I was
we'll go
just
faster.
about to get a little concerned that we're still on the first king.
No, he's very important.
Okay, cool.
The cameraman will attest that a lot of them are less important.
He's definitely the most. Like, there's probably only one or two other kings with
That'd
as
be this
much
one.
to say
Okay.
as Aegon.
So he also, his first wife Visenya bears him a son named Maegor.
Okay.
I have here Aenys is a virgin, his first son, and Maegor the Chad as his
Cool.
second
yes,
son.
yes.
This is not a biased history, and I would never lie.
Yeah.
Right.
Maegor is very strong. His wife was thought to maybe be infertile, the one who bore Maegor.
It was all three of his wives' fault that he was
Oh.
infertile.
Maybe. No. I'm saying Visenya was thought to be.
Oh, Visenya. Okay.
Was thought to maybe be infertile, but then she bore like a super strong son. Maybe she used blood magic to bear Maegor.
Ooh.
But Maegor's a
Gotta
fucking
love
beast.
blood magic.
But he doesn't bond with the dragon. He
Is
doesn't
blood
have a
magic
dragon.
just an old medieval speak for a period?
Yes.
Good.
I mean, they do some fucked up shit with dragons. But yes, Maegor's
Okay.
a Chad.
Why doesn't he bond with a?
There's no dragon available.
Ah,
And then
okay.
later, when there are hatchlings, he said, "There's only one dragon worthy of me,"
Oh.
and he's referring to
big one.
Balerion.
Yeah.
And so Maegor, can I get
Maegor!
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
Gore.
cool. Aenys
What's
is a weak-
Maegor's epithet?
What? Maegor's epithet known as history is the cruel. Maegor the
Oh,
cruel. That's.
ooh,
Oh,
Maegor the Cruel.
You guys are already
take it
in.
back. You don't get to take it back.
No.
I think he's
Um,
trying to take it back, though.
No,
I'm
but
gonna get canceled by
Now-
culture.
now the cameraman can disagree with me partially, but it is implied, I think, that part of Maegor's there's an in-universe thing of like historical sources might be lying to you. Maegor did fucked up things, but it is implied that the people, those who recorded history, didn't like him, and so probably some of his evil deeds have been embellished later
Yeah.
on. Would
Okay.
you agree?
I feel like, yeah, I think it's like he probably was a pretty evil guy, but a lot of it was pragmatic.
Yeah.
And there's only a little bit of it that's like truly
History is
just
written by the ones
pure
who
cruelty.
Yeah, history's written by the survivors. And people, and so Aenys, he doesn't have a sister to fuck, so he marries his cousin, one of the Valerians. Who are
This is
born
why
in-
he's a virgin nerd. He doesn't even fuck his sister.
Yeah,
He's
doesn't even
kind of a
fuck his
loser.
sister.
Doesn't do
Or his
that.
brother, you know?
Or his
Yeah, it's
large-scale
opportunities.
reptile.
Yeah, and
But we don't
has,
know he didn't do that.
Okay, so I may have called him a virgin, but he does have 5 kids.
Ah.
He has
A
Aegon,
bit of a
he has
stretch there.
Aegon, Rhaena, Viserys, Jaehaerys, and Alicent.
Viserys.
Are they all
Jaehaerys.
friends with one another?
Allison is a strangely
kids?
normal
Yeah.
name.
It's spelled fucked up.
Oh, okay.
Do his kids get along, or do they fight with
The kids are good. The kids are good.
Some of them
War
really get
Succession?
along.
Yeah, some of them really get
Oh,
along.
okay. I forgot.
Yeah,
about
he
the
marries
incest for a second.
Aegon and Rhaena, his first two sons, or his first two kids.
Okay.
That's still pretty
We're not getting that progressive yet.
Okay.
Damn.
But
That's
so
nice.
it seems like
One
the
here.
rest of Aegon the First reign is known as the Dragon's Peace. He's got like, honestly, he lives in his like 60s.
Oh, that's great
like,
for medieval.
Well,
king.
and think about it. He's got 2 sons. He's got 5 grandkids. 2 of them get married. He's gonna have like way more on the way. Like, so he's a good time. They get married slightly after he dies, but still, like he's got a thriving dynasty.
Yeah.
This area is known as the
Cemented his
Dragon's
legacy.
Peace. And then he passes away.
It's like Pax Romana.
All hell.
Yeah, Pax
breaks
Romana.
loose.
And Aenys becomes the king. He is a weak,
Boo.
vacillating man. He listens to women. He likes to read books.
Oh, you shouldn't be well read about your people.
And
if
however,
you're a king.
however, this is another thing where if Maegor is so evil, you would think he would just usurp his brother immediately, which
Yeah.
he doesn't. So that's another thing where I think.
Aw.
So actually, no. So he inherits Blackfire, the sword.
Oh, okay.
The
Chad or the Virgin?
The Virgin.
Damn.
He's weak, but he's a good guy.
Okay.
And
He's a
goes,
peaceful king.
you'll see his flaws later, but his flaws come from not from a failing of like moral character, but from just
He's just stupid.
a weakness of constitution, we'll
I
say.
see.
Okay.
He didn't have the balls in order, like
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do what
Yeah.
his dad and brother
He doesn't
did.
have the balls to tell an entire continent bend the fucking knee.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. But he inherits the sword from his dad, but he goes to his brother, the Chad Maegor, and he goes, "You need this more than me."
Oh wow.
And
That's kind of cool.
he
That's
says,
also
you're my strong right hand. You're the hand of the king. We are gonna be bros.
Yeah.
And so they sign a broth. After brohood,
No way.
and they will be best bros
blood.
for life.
Yeah.
And things are good for the early part of the reign. His kids marry, that's great.
Yeah, that's
However,
awesome.
within the first year of the reign, there are a bunch of rebels that rise up that they're mostly dealt with and by the lords of the Seven Kingdoms. Because Aenys, he's not a warrior king. He doesn't want to ride into battle with his dragon.
Yeah.
So it's left to his vassal lords to put down those rebellions themselves, and they are a little annoyed by
Just
this.
rebellions
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, there's a.
Oh,
You have a nuclear arsenal,
Let me
but
look.
you don't use it. It's a
There's an
little bit
outlaw
annoying.
named Red Herring who claims to be a grandson of Herod Hor.
His name is Red
um,
Herring, and he's
Yes.
false claim.
That's funny.
False claimant. There's like a priest king, some bandits, a guy called the Vulture
Well, it's
King.
probably hard to use the creatures on your own like area now.
Yeah.
Like, they have it
Yeah.
claimed.
And so Lord Alan Stokeworth, who is an interim hand of the king, gets killed. He names Maegor as the hand, and they rule together for 2 years. Prince Maegor has. This is where Maegor also gets a bad rap. Maegor will later get a bad rap for he's going to do some polygamy.
Oh, okay.
However,
we don't like.
he gets married when he's 13, and he marries like a 20-year-old.
Oh.
So Maegor got molested.
Poor guy.
Poor guy. But his first wife bears him no children.
So that's why he thinks he needs the polygamy.
So he takes a second wife. And they quarrel. The High Septon is displeased. He made an exception once. And so he gives 2 options, basically. Either get rid of your second wife, or go into exile for 5 years. And Maegor goes, all right. And he goes across the near seas to Pentos with the dragon Valerion, which he claims upon his father's death.
Ooh, okay, so he takes the big one.
But importantly, does not usurp his brother, which is, I just want to point out that
That
does-
good.
that is
That was nice.
surprising.
yeah, it is surprising.
Yeah.
And he goes there, and Aenys' rule sort of spirals from here.
Yeah, he lost his right hand, so he's kind of screwed.
Aenys names a Septon as his new hand of the king, who are like a priest.
Yeah.
Doesn't go
Okay.
great. They call him weak. He
He lets the
announces.
church into the royal court.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
announces.
that's rough. That's
He
rough.
announces that his 2 oldest kids will wed. The faith hate it because they hate the incest.
Yeah.
And at one point on the wedding, there is a on the wedding, like the faith have a militant group, the faith militant, Yeah.
The peasants Jan 6 the wedding, right?
Yeah,
The boys
so-
get fired up.
So
They go to the
he
castle.
tries to send them
Ruh-roh.
tries to send them on a tour to like celebrate the wedding. But yes,
Yeah.
the peasants like Jan 6 the wedding, and they're holed up besieged in a castle.
Oh man.
Aenys, his first son,
January 6th in intention or in results?
in intention,
Okay.
because they're safe, but they're holed up in a castle, and the
Yeah,
peasants
yeah,
are like, "Hey, we hate the incest."
Isn't that the same results as January 6th too?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's-
Okay,
We don't really do anything.
cool. That's what I was asking.
Aenys names his eldest son Aegon, or second Aegon. We're gonna go to about 10.
Aegon 2.
Not no. You only get 2 if you actually ascend the throne.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like Reginald named. But he names him the Prince of Dragonstone. So henceforth, the heir apparent is the Prince of Dragonstone. It's like the Prince of Wales in
Yeah.
England. So Dragonstone, which so you
London.
don't say dragon. Yeah, you're gonna call him Prince of Wales, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just the king of London.
So that's the precedent that the heir apparent will be named Prince of Dragonstone. But currently he is holed up in a.
He's the mayor of London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're Jan 6, the Faith Militant Uprise, and Queen Visenya, who's his
Sister.
aunt.
Oh,
Well, he's the king's aunt.
Oh, right,
He was
okay.
the he was his dad's
got
sister
it.
wife.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
And the mom of Maegor.
This is already getting
They're old
confusing.
now, though, right?
No, it's simple. It's his dad's sister's wife, which makes it his like double aunt.
Yeah.
You know.
How old?
So-
How old is she now?
Probably like late 40s, early 50s.
Oh, okay.
Not bad.
She was a
Um,
lot younger than her sibling.
Huh? No, she was the oldest sibling.
Oh, really?
Like, I thought he
Oh, wait,
died
no,
at
you're right,
60.
you're right. Sorry, she would be in her 60s. My bad. I forgot she had Maegor really late in life. That's another thing where maybe his conception was unnatural.
Okay,
considering-
yeah.
She
Blood
had him
magic.
when she was like 35 or something.
Okay.
Um,
Decrepitly old.
Yeah. But Visenya is just like, dude, you have a dragon. You have my dragon, Quicksilver, or you have your dragon, Quicksilver. I have
Yeah,
like
I have
fresh
Vagar.
peasants.
Yeah.
And Vagar's really big too, right?
Vagar is the second biggest after Valyrian.
Okay.
Um,
Can you still walk down this one's mouth?
By the end of its life, dragons never stop growing.
Ah, okay.
By the end of its life, yeah. But she's like, just torture him. And Aenys is like, I want to be a good person. I don't want to
Nah.
kill the peasants.
Fuck that.
Boo!
No, no.
And so
Exert your
Visenya leaves in protest. And Aenys dies with a broken heart. He dies sickly, because he's
Oh.
always have not been...
Poor
Remember,
guy.
fertility issues?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this leaves no heir apparent, right?
Well, he has an
Or
heir.
he does have children.
He has
It's just-
children. He has 3 sons, but 2 of them are very young, and one of them's holed up in a castle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
When
this
he
is
dies,
opportunity for his brother.
when he dies, so this is where I think Maegor isn't all bad, because of the fact that he waited to try to claim the throne in a time of crisis. And he did. I think, regardless of what Maegor does or doesn't do later on, I think he loved his brother.
Yeah.
I think that's perfectly valid for him
Yeah.
to take it in the time of crisis.
So, okay, what happened later won't be less valid. We're getting less valid. So it's my personal thing.
Let's
I
get
have
another
identified-
Maegor chant going,
I
guys.
haven't
Go love
identified-
Maegor.
Maegor!
Maegor!
That's
Maegor!
why.
I will. I'm going to support this man
No way.
wholeheartedly, no
I have
matter
a
what
theory, a
atrocities he
unified
does.
theory known as
Absolutely.
Dragon Macbeth, which is that I think in Macbeth he seizes the throne for ostensibly good reasons,
And he
Yeah.
has
then
bad
there's-
things to maintain.
there's bad things to maintain it. I think that's so Aegon in the show, it said that he passed the Aegon's dream, that idea that there was going to be White Walkers come down from the north, down from heir to heir. Probably true in the books. So that would mean that potentially that Aegon told his sons that there needs to be a strong king in order to stop the ice apocalypse.
Yeah.
So it's my assertion that that's probably what motivates Maegor's actions, though it's going to get worse and worse.
Is the dream that the White Walkers are going to take
Are gonna come back.
everything, or just that they're going to come back?
They're going to come back and try to take everything.
Okay.
And only a dragon king can
Yeah,
take
only
them
a
out.
I see.
unified world with nuclear weaponry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so also Aegon the uncrowned, we're going to call him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just for future reference about the word,
Yeah.
are they sentient enough to be considered things, like creatures that they can interact with people,
Yeah,
or are
can
they
they,
more
like,
of just a
talk?
weapon?
They're definitely like smarter than regular animals.
And they
They
have
develop like a
bond with their
magic
writer.
bond with their writer,
Okay.
but like
Yeah.
they generally operate as like animals.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in very like specifically as they interact with their
'Cause in
writer,
Skyrim,
they can be smart.
They
Yeah,
have
they're-
distinct personalities.
There's
They have-
definitely personalities, but it's more like how a dog can be
Yeah.
like
I-
more
I would
aggressive
go. I
or
would
more
go
friendly.
smarter than a dog, but
Yeah.
like less than like an ape. you know?
Okay, cool, cool. I just wanted to know what type we're working with here.
Yeah. So, Maegor receives word from his mom Visenya that his brother has died. He goes in and claims the throne. His nephew and niece are over here at Craig Hall, and they are currently besieged.
Oh, no.
And the Grand Maester, who's the head scholar guy, says, "Well, by the laws of inheritance, it should be your nephew." And Maegor says, "Well, by the laws of beheadedness, you're dead." And Maegor decapitates him with Blackfire.
Maegor!
Nice.
Maegor! Maegor!
Maegor!
Are we
I'll give
still
Maegor
rolling?
that one.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure. You can see that it's rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I think at some point
There should be
we'll,
enough space for the next hour and a half you're gonna do on when Maegor is actually cool.
Yeah. It's a joke. I am sort of the Maegor guy because I think my instinct as someone who likes history is to try to read against the grain, and because it seems as if there's purposeful historical distortion in universe, I want to be the devil's advocate here.
Who would you say is doing the distortion? Is there some cabal of
Yeah,
shadowy
so the
figures?
Maesters write the history.
Okay.
And Maegor has just begun his reign by cutting the head off
Yes,
the Maesters.
yeah. So there's genuine historical precedent for
Yeah.
historical bias.
Okay, so next, Maegor then leaves King's Landing, and he gets ready with his mom, and they go to the church, the Sept, in the city, and he says, does anyone think that I shouldn't be king? And a bunch of warrior priests are like, yes.
Oh.
And so they have a trial of the 7, which is like a trial by combat, 7 on 7.
Yeah.
That's
I forgot to mention this, but they established the King's Guard, it's a knightly order who they vow to have no wife, inherit no lands, and they're a knightly order
That's
that guards
pretty
the
cool.
king. Whenever one
Eunuchs?
dies, what?
So they make
No, not
eunuchs?
eunuchs.
Okay. I just feel like that would be the next step from
No.
that vow.
They're not that fucked up. And dudes like Kingsguard fuck all the time. They stood on the down low.
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
Got it.
But the Kingsguard were established a long time ago. The first Lord Commander was one of the Valyrians.
Okay.
But he and 6 of his Kingsguard squad up against they're called the Warrior Sons, or this like area of warrior priests, and they have a battle, and the only survivor is Maegor. Yeah.
Imagine being the one Kingsguard he didn't pick.
Yeah.
In the trial.
Well, that guy's the only
Right, he's the
survivor.
only survivor.
Yeah, what are they like? Yeah, and you fucking loser. You
Well, because
turned me on.
Maegor, yeah, he didn't get in.
Yeah.
And Maegor sustains a massive head injury and goes into a coma
Oh,
at the end of this trial. Might shape
That didn't
actions
work
he
out.
takes
Oh,
later.
yeah.
Oh no.
Well, he does
Is
win.
this a Henry VIII jousting
Oh,
accident?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
And so, and like Henry VIII, he's a massive Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
He's over there. He's in the middle of that board.
Yeah,
Yeah, where
like
is that
Henry
guy?
VIII, he's
Ah.
a massive Chad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we like Maegor.
Yeah.
When he wakes up, some things have changed. His head's been reconfigured.
Yeah.
And he decides it's dragon time.
Ooh.
So he's the only child, or he's the only survivor, rather. They said basically the gods had blessed him with the faith in the city are like, well, the gods have blessed him with victory, therefore he's the king.
Yeah.
And he now has both of his wives. He has his original wife Alice.
And then the one that can
Alice
actually have
Haraway,
children.
and then his second wife, Tyanna of the Tower, who is a witch, maybe?
Okay.
That could be
Kinda cool.
historically.
Kinda
Look,
cool.
whenever in history someone doesn't like a woman, they make them a
Pillar
witch.
witch.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the book that a lot of this history is written like from the point of view of in-world historians, and they do call literally every woman with any power. They're like, she was probably a witch.
Yeah. So, this is once again where Maegor might be being misserved here, because
Yeah.
he has several powerful women on his court. Despite his later reputation, because he is polygamous, they're like, oh yeah, he just kills women. But like, he respects women
To do evil magic.
to do evil magic.
Right. But he respects them enough to put them in his
Yeah.
court.
It's also said that Alice Haraway is his first wife, and then his second wife, Tiana, is the lover of both his wife and him. So it's a throuple type situation.
Okay.
So Maegor is a bisexual ally.
Nice.
So
Oh,
you know,
yes.
Maegor.
Oh yeah.
And Tiana, the Lady Witch, takes over Maegor's care while he's in the coma, and he comes to.
Cool.
So yeah.
Clearly evil
How
magic.
fast?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's clearly evil because she's helping the clearly evil Maegor.
Mhm.
He also, Alice Haraway was his second wife, was his first polygamous wife. He also reconciles with the wife that he married when he was 13 and she was 20.
And does he remarry or just?
Remarry.
Okay.
So she got 3. Gotta
Okay.
catch them all.
Yeah.
And then this is where we get to the crushing of the Faith militant. So he goes to the Starry Sept in Old Town, which is like the Vatican, basically.
Okay.
And he and his mom both have their dragons, Valyrian
Yeah.
and
You gotta have the
Aegon.
gunboats with us for diplomacy.
There is no diplomacy, my friend.
Oh.
The Starry Sept
Oh.
is burned.
Oh wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He's a based atheist.
Yeah, and
Okay.
henceforth, there's a law passed until later in the book series by a very genius ruler who will overturn this rule. But is no man of the faith will ever hold up arms. That's Maegor creates that law, and this is where Maegor does fucked up things, but that's one of the more justifiable things he does.
Right. You can't
you wanna-
have another.
Do you have an expert opinion on that?
But yeah. I mean, I think he basically, he made it so they can't have like a holy army,
Yeah,
and so
probably
like,
good.
It makes it a lot harder for them to rise a crusade against him.
yeah, there's one less like feudal lord with a giant army.
Maegor expands. He starts building the Red Keep, which is like the palace, sort of Buckingham Palace. Yeah.
What are the working conditions on the red team? What do they do?
They
Is it good?
So,
Do they get dental?
Actually, it's pretty great at
Oh.
first. He brings in the best architects in all of Westeros, and he builds a bunch of secret passageways, so that like he can.
Yeah, that's cool.
But then he kills all the architects afterwards, so
Oh.
only he knows the design.
Okay. That's. I
So
guess
at first,
smart.
it's pretty good.
That's smart at least.
So he reconciles, and so remember his nephew and niece are still over here.
Are
And
they
his-
still in
they're-
that castle?
Yeah, and his nephew and niece are both dragon riders.
It's a really long January 6th.
They're still stuck in. They
Well,
only have the lizards.
are they-
Can't they just leave?
Well, they didn't have their dragons with them.
But at this point, shouldn't they find them?
Are they pissed off at
Maegor?
Maegor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he announces his claim to the throne. Here's the problem, though. The rest of the siblings, there's the eldest daughter and the eldest son are there. The
Yeah.
rest of the siblings are over in King's Landing.
They're
and
back in
now,
London.
They're now
Yeah,
Maegor's
back in
hostages.
London.
No, King's Landing.
Oh, okay. Is that not in that area?
Well, Dragonstone
They're
is over
close.
here.
Okay.
So the island,
There you
London
go.
is the
that's
island.
the
near
island
King's
is
Landing.
London.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
West Shire.
yeah.
Cool.
And so
London adjacent.
his mom, the queen of
Very fish
the
people.
widow of Queen Aenys is in King's Landing.
Okay.
Along with his the 2 younger brothers and the younger sister.
Okay.
They're hostage. He marches. Aegon the Uncrowned marches with a huge army towards up here to the over here near the God's Eye, and he has battle with Maegor, and Maegor kills his nephew.
Man.
It's
Okay.
the battle under the God's Eye.
I mean, it's a challenge to his claim of throne.
Which
I
he
guess
usurped.
Well, okay, but look at regular history. There's a lot of succession fighting.
Henceforth, Maegor is known as Maegor the Cruel
Good
for Kinslaying.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess that's where they draw the line.
And the going to war with the religion and the
Okay, but
killing all the
that-
builders
yeah.
who worked in the castle.
Okay,
To
the
be
castle
fair-
one,
Yeah, killing the
The
architect
religion,
didn't do anything.
the religion,
Was
nah,
justified.
I'm okay with that one. And so here's the thing: is that he keeps his surviving nephews and niece hostage. The wife, the eldest daughter, Rhaena, does not die. She's brought to King's Landing, and he still has no heir. It's said he fucks all 3 of his wives every night. Maegor's
Okay.
a stud.
Impressive.
Yeah,
Impressive.
nice stamina, dude.
Yeah, that's good.
But
Glad that that's a historical fact.
his wives are still barren. However, one of them gets pregnant. But when she goes into labor, she gives birth prematurely to a monstrosity which is said to be eyeless and twisted.
Ooh.
Maegor executes everyone involved with the birth, like all of the
damn.
what do you call them, midwives.
Yeah, yeah.
Even
You
the
gotta
wife?
cover up the scandal.
Yeah.
Even his wife?
And he says, no, wife's fine.
Okay.
And he claims that the wife, that it couldn't have been his. So he tortures the shit out of the wife, and then he kills her.
Oh,
Can we get a Maegor chant, guys?
Maegor!
Maegor! Maegor!
I have a feeling
Maegor.
this guy might be a little
He
cruel.
kills him, he kills his former father-in-law, or he kills her, he kills the father-in-law, and
Now
that
he's got
house
the two
goes
wives.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
better with the church at least.
And so that
Yeah, it's getting closer.
Yeah, the Pope's like, I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff, but he did cut it down to 2.
Yeah.
And so he crushes a minor
Getting
rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say?
I was just like, the Pope is like, he's
Yeah.
getting closer to 1.
He crushes a minor rebellion, but he comes back, his mommy dies, Queen
Aw.
Visenya. She was an angel. She committed no blood sorcery. Alright, everyone, shut the
He's
fuck
good for
up!
another 2 hours.
Alright, data, we hit the data limit, so it's stopped going.
Because it was too real. The
no.
camera
Too real.
short circuited.
Hard cut right now.
Yeah. So we hit the data limit there. We're back, and at Rhaegar Baratheon has the 2 surviving siblings, Jaehaerys and Alysanne. And they call all the banners, and they're going to rebel against Maegor. And they begin marching on the Red Keep. However, once they get there, Maegor has killed himself on the Iron Throne.
Right.
There's some idea that maybe he was assassinated or whatever, but to me it makes the most sense considering it doesn't really seem like there's a sign of a struggle. That Maegor has opened his own wrists on the Iron Throne.
Yes.
And he's got nothing really to go for.
Yeah. Jaehaerys is henceforth crowned as the king of Westeros. He has a very short regency. For a while, his mom serves as the Queen Regent. Then Rhaegar Baratheon, who is the guy who sponsored them, Rhaegar Baratheon ends up marrying his mom, who's a widow. And so now he's a stepdad and the regent, so things get a little messy. And his there is a
Wait,
triple.
he married his mom? I thought you said.
No, Rhaegar Baratheon marries the mom of the new king.
He's his
Oh,
stepdad.
okay. Cool.
And so Rhaegar is named Hand of the King. Jaehaerys has a dragon now named Vermithor. His sister, Alysanne, is Vermithor the Bronze Fury. She has Alysanne, his sister, has a dragon called Silverwing.
Well, not just his sister.
Not just his sister.
Oh.
The young, we're going to call him from henceforth instead of Jaehaerys, he'll be called Young Jay. Kid's a child prodigy. Like, he's really fucking, he's wicked
hell yeah.
smart. He's
Hell
wicked
yeah.
smart.
Wicked
Um,
smart.
He knows how to run the realm. He's got the gift of gab. He's hot shit. And there's a year of a double wedding, in which there's a wedding where he gets a new stepdad, and the other wedding he marries his sister Alysanne.
Yeah!
Yeah! But this one's fine because it's just the one wife.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
yes.
that.
However,
Chilling.
they come with an idea called the doctrine of exceptionalism, which means
Right.
that because Targaryens are more god than man, they are an exception to the idea that incest should not be
Because
permitted.
that's what being close to God is.
Right,
you know
right.
what I mean?
God
Marrying
does incest.
your siblings.
Yeah. And the faith is okay with that. And things are pacified with the faith.
The faith is okay with that.
Yeah. And so there's basically a dream team lead to a prosperous reign. Alysanne is also wicked smart. She's very smart. She has women's councils where, wait for it, they listen to women.
Are
Where
they
she listens to
witches?
concerns of women.
Yeah, I also want to ask if that was witchcraft.
Yeah.
And if they were on their period.
Both.
Blood magic, witches,
Yeah, so all of that, very, wicked stuff. They do tours all the time where they will do a procession of the realm known as a royal progress. They show up, they're like, it's like you sit with a local lord who maybe doesn't normally get the ear of the king and you feast with them. And then that's cool. They listen to the peasants.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good.
real
This is a
progressive.
It's
good guy.
also a veiled threat because they're traveling with their dragons.
Oh.
Right. It's a show of force, but it's also genuinely.
Yeah,
helpful.
he's young
Yeah.
Jay is
He's
unanimously
chilling.
known as the greatest king in Westeros.
Yes.
I think a different king is the greatest king, because I'm an asshole. However,
Is it the last one?
Aerys the second?
No. I mean the previous one.
Magor?
Yes.
No.
Aw.
But you are a Magor fan.
I do. I'm a Magor apologist.
Okay. He's a lost cause revisionist for Magor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's heritage, not hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, once eventually his stepdaddy, he fires him. There's a bunch of tension with him.
Because he didn't want him to fuck his sister, like a
his
loser.
mom, yeah, he doesn't want him to fuck his sister. It's a whole thing, but sort of unimportant for the rest of us. But his mom dies in childbirth with his new dad's kid. He fires him.
You've been fired for
Rhaena, who's the widow of Aegon the Uncrowned and his older sister, visits their stepdad, the dragon, who goes, "If you ever remarry, I'm gonna have this dragon eat you."
Wow.
Or if you ever mistreat this kid or whatever, because my mom died. Like, she doesn't resent her new half sibling, but she's like, if you ever mistreat, if you're not the best, because my mom died giving birth to this kid, if you aren't the best father in the world and don't
you're gonna get fucking eaten.
you're gonna get fucking eaten. So she's cool. Rhaena does a bunch of stuff that I'm cutting because it's just not important. She's probably gay. Lesbian.
With her sister?
No.
Aw.
Unrelated.
Even better.
So
Even
not
better.
completely
Let's
cool.
go.
The whole
Okay.
thing, it's sort of unimportant to the larger geopolitics, but yeah, she's sort of she's interesting. One of her escapades leads to her scorned lover stealing a bunch of dragon eggs that maybe come back later. So
Okay.
That's kind of
that all happens.
Better tell us when it's later.
Yeah, it will happen. And there's a dream team. Eventually, the new hand king comes in. His name's Septon Barth. He's a Septon, but he's like
Septum? Like
Septon,
oh, okay.
a priest. But he's like a scientist. He's like a wise man. Like he's both he does science. He's like some people
Bring frankincense.
I know he's based because other members of the faith hate him. They say he's more a sorcerer than a priest.
Yeah.
Okay.
At one point, he has a bunch of kids with his sister wife. The ones that matter the most is he has his oldest kid named Aemon. Aemon has a daughter named Rhaenys. Aemon later tragically dies.
You're ready for a lot of names that sound the same.
Good.
Aemon later tragically dies, and however, his daughter Rhaenys is not named by her.
No.
On account of being a woman.
Oh.
Okay.
Rhaenys then marries one of the House Valyrian people. Where Rhaenys Targaryen will be known, this one, because there's a second Rhaenys, will be known as the Queen Who Never Was. So the Queen Who Never Was, who is a dragon rider, marries into House Valyrian.
She's really big in the TV show, right?
Yes, she is.
I heard that name somehow.
He has another son named Balon the Brave. Balon the Brave also tragically dies. But he has two sons named Viserys, as well as Daemon. There's a huge council held after a while when Balon dies, because it's about are we gonna choose the oldest living descendant of Jaehaerys, which is the Queen Who Never Was, or are we gonna choose the oldest male descendant, who is Viserys? So he gets chosen. The grandson of Jaehaerys gets chosen as his heir while he's still alive. He has a few other kids. One is Vaegon the Dragonless, who everyone shits on, and so he leaves to go become.
Can I take a guess? Does he not have a scaly beast to ride?
Correct.
No.
And he leaves to become like a scholar monk sort of deal.
Okay. Probably a good fate
Yeah, that's
for a
not
non-king
bad. Yeah.
there.
So he does that. There's a few daughters. Multiple of them have bastard children and get exiled. Jaehaerys has a bad relationship with his daughters.
Okay.
And they also have a bunch of miscarriages, but Alysanne is a fucking, a breeding horse. She really, a brood bear. She gets a lot of kids out there.
So they are not infertile like their father. Or
No. Yeah, or their uncle.
their uncle, right?
Yeah.
Previous king.
A lot of dead kids. There's that great council of 101. We're now 100 years past the conquest. We are a
Only
third of the way through.
4.5 hours?
Yeah, and Viserys, who will be henceforth known as Vizzy T, is pronounced the heir of.
Who's he?
And Jaehaerys dies after a reign of 55 years.
Okay.
He's like Pax Romana.
Yeah.
He's
with
like
that
chilling.
little blip of Maegor's reign.
Everything's chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Viserys becomes a dragon rider of Valyrian.
And he carries the dream of the White Walker, whatever.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Assumably. In the show, definitely. In the books, who knows? But he rides Balerion, but then Balerion dies of old age.
And Valerian was the best one.
Valerion
Yeah, and he never claims another dragon.
Cute.
Now, Balerion, there's a whole escapade where Balerion got infected with magic parasites, which may be long story. I'm cutting a lot to make this like at all make any sense.
Yeah,
He can attest to this.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
He is. But he is now. He does not have a dragon. He does not have a dragon, but he is a coming in. They call him the Young King. Like coming in, he got his brother Daemon. Daemon has a mixed reputation. He's incredibly daring. He founds the City Watch. He is a dragon rider of Craxes the Bloodworm.
Yeah, let's get a Damon chant
Ooh.
going.
Damon!
Cool guy.
Damon!
Damon!
Sick. That's
He's a
So
cool guy.
he's-
What else does he do? Are there any other details about him after we cheer him on?
I feel
But
like,
as of
yeah,
this,
there's a reason
basically,
for it.
and also, Viserys has a daughter named Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra has a dragon of her own. What did they find her name?
It's cool
Cyrax.
title.
What?
If it's cool a title is Bloodworm.
Cyrax? No, Cyrax is just Cyrax.
Cyrax is just like a name.
So as that time, House Targaryen has those two dragons primarily of Cyrax and Craxes, and then House of Valerion, because they married into the queen who never was, they have her dragon Meleys the Red Queen.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a cool title.
Vagar is alive. That dragon of Queen Visenya. It was written by Balon the Brave for a while and is now unclaimed. All right, let me get my notes. So Viserys is a nice, charming dude. In the show, they gave him a lot more character than in the books. He's sort of a footnote, but people like him. He marries his cousin Emma Arryn. Only his cousin, I know.
Yeah.
Kinda gross.
And
Yeah. But his Daemon is a little bit of a fuckwad. He's his mom's favorite. Their mom is Alyssa Targaryen, who is the sister wife of their dad, Balon the Brave. She was like, can you describe Alyssa Targaryen, please?
I don't know exactly. There's in the book, most of her description is just talking about how much she loved fucking her husband.
Yeah.
It's like
she
10
loved
minutes.
fucking
It's
her
like
brother husband.
It's like
Which
5 pages in the
Can
book.
you please describe it, which the desensitization of incest thing, where at first you're like icky, and then at this point you're just like, at least they were happy.
Yeah, 300 pages into the incest book, you're like, all right, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. Daemon at first, he's never named Hand of the King because he's too hot-headed, even though he loves his brother and his brother loves him.
Sure.
But because he's always
In that
constantly.
No.
Okay.
No.
Not that we know. But he loves his brother loves him. He's named commander of the City Watch at one point, and he creates a King's Landing as the capital city becomes very populated, but it becomes sort of lawless, and he brings order to it with the gold cloaks.
Oh, good.
So Daemon does that, but he whores constantly. He loves fighting. He loves killing. Like he's a figurative bastard.
Okay. Not a literal one, just a figurative one.
As
Yes,
you
so
are.
he's a bastard. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
unfortunately, there is a tragedy. Emma Arryn dies in childbirth, giving birth to a son. However, that son dies within a day. Yeah.
So,
And previously, he declared his daughter would be his heir
Yeah.
because he hadn't had a son for a long time, right?
Yeah, he hadn't had a son for a long time, so he said, yeah, my daughter will be my heir. However, during this, no, his daughter won't be his heir, Daemon is his heir.
Oh, yeah.
Daemon, his brother, is his heir. However, at a, one moment, I seem to answer my mother.
Ah.
Anyways,
Damn it.
During this, after the kid dies, instead of going to comfort his brother, his nephew just died, Daemon is seen drunkenly celebrating at a tavern that he remains heir to the throne,
Oh.
and he says the words that the kid was heir for a day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah.
That's so awful.
And so he's sort of exiled. He'll leave to go do adventures on the Stepstones, and sort of gets in with House Valyrian. The Hand of the King, Otto Hightower, dislikes him. They've been feuding for the entire time. That happens now. Viserys holds a lavish ceremony where they name his daughter, Rhaenyra, as the heir to the throne, and he has all of the lords swear an oath that despite the fact that she's a woman, they're going to uphold her.
Good. That's good
We're
stuff.
ending primogeniture, kind of.
No,
We're definitely ending
male
it
preference
forever. This won't
Yes,
be an
that's
issue.
primogeniture,
It's
right?
solved.
Well, primogeniture is just the system of
Oh.
inheritance as a whole.
Got it. Okay, I thought it was specifically the male ones.
No, I think there's like agnatic, primogeniture, cognatic.
Alright, somebody play
Got it.
Crusader Kings 3, we all get it.
Yeah.
I did not, so I don't know that.
Daemon leaves the capital. Viserys starts to mold her into a queen. In the show, he tells her of the Song of Ice and Fire, and that is Aegon's dream.
No.
However, he remarries to Alicent Hightower, the daughter of the Hand of the King.
Okay.
And he has, importantly though, one of the suitors for the king's hand in marriage, remarrying, was Laena Velaryon, who was the daughter of the queen who never was.
Oh.
Okay.
The other dragon-riding family in Westeros.
Right.
Now
Also,
that,
do the math on how they're related. It's like 4 different ways.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now
More
that
insights.
Daemon, now that Daemon has fled, the crown only has one dragon.
Ooh.
House
Wax
Valyrian
of
now
love.
has 3. Because the Queen Never Was has 2 kids who are both dragon riders,
Oh,
Laena
damn.
and Laenor Velaryon.
We gotta have a not that word. Wyvern War.
Yeah, we're gonna give you
half
that one.
of it, he's fine.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the G
No.
being
Yeah.
pronounced.
Her drat.
Yeah.
And however, he rejects her, and Corlys Velaryon, who's he married the queen who never was. He's badass. They call him the Sea Snake. He's a great mariner. He's sort of like
Does that refer to his penis?
It does refer to his cock.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's awesome. Like he's like a swashbuckling, like he's wise,
yeah.
but he's like a hero who has naval battles. He gets fabulously rich because he goes on 7 voyages, where he goes to like uncharted parts of the world, brings back like elephants and spices
Yeah,
and
that's pretty
silks.
cool. That's pretty cool.
He's super cool. And he thought he should be qualified to be Hand of the King. He was master of ships for a lot of times. And now his daughter has been rejected as the consort. Instead, his daughter, Laena Velaryon, marries Daemon. Daemon Targaryen.
Wow.
And Daemon and the Velaryons, now scorned, do a side project of conquering the Stepstones.
Oh.
In the show, this is a pretty awesome couple episodes where Daemon Velaryon does some Daemon Targaryen does some hype ass shit. with
Against
the
like
Targaryens.
pirates and stuff?
Yes, pirates, and organized under a group called the Triarchy, who lived down there.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
badass.
Now he marries, the king marries, I told you Jaehaerys would go fast, by the way.
Yeah.
This one's
Well,
fast
side
too.
question real fast.
Yeah.
Is Dorne still like
Independent.
independent?
Fully.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I forgot to mention the leader of them during Aegon's conquest was Miriam Martell, the yellow toad of Dorne. She was like sickly, disgusting, and fat, but like she just was like smart as fuck.
Oh, cool. So with the Stepstones conquered, now the only thing that isn't
Is Dorne.
is just Dorne.
Yeah.
And also
And
Asia.
then
Yeah.
also the White Walker's house.
Which will not be. He remarries the daughter of his hand of the king, Alicent Hightower, and he has 3 more kids. He has Helena, he has Aegon,
Ooh,
and he
another
has
Aegon.
Aemond. Aegon and Helena will go on to get married, but now we have a problem. He, at a time in which he only had 1 daughter, he had everyone swear an oath that they would uphold the inheritance rights of his daughter Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Right.
However, now he has
Yes.
not 1, but 2,
Two
and then
sons.
there's a 3rd son born, not pictured, named Daeron the Daring. So now he
Is
has
that
plenty
not
of
the
sun.
other guy
They're gonna try and
by
take
her?
No, different Daemon.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That's Daemon. No, that's
That's
Daemon.
good.
That's Daemon by her.
Who?
Daemon.
Oh, Daemon?
Yeah, it's the guy by
that's
her.
Daemon, not Daemon.
Oh, okay, okay.
They're
So
gonna
now
try
we
and
have a
take the
problem
power.
here, okay?
That's awful.
So, Rhaenyra ends up marrying Laenor Valerion, who
Okay.
is the, to try to, like, make the houses no longer in conflict with each other.
Yeah.
And it said that her kids with him, he's gay, by the way.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
And so she has three kids with him, but are all clearly bastards. But you know, they have in the show they have an arrangement. It's assumed in the books it was just saying that like she just goes fuck someone else,
Sure.
and everyone
Yeah.
knows they're bastards because he's clearly gay and
Right,
they
but
don't
they're
look like it.
definitely real.
Yeah.
Definitely real.
Yeah.
But importantly though, they all become dragon riders. So
Okay.
they have that sort of
Yeah, that's
legitimacy.
important.
They at least have half-blood.
But now we start to get, at the end of his reign, we start to get factions forming. There are the Blacks, unfortunate name.
Okay.
But it is
These blacks.
Rhaenyra. It's basically team like Valerian, because Rhaenyra is married into the family.
Yeah.
Daemon is married into the family. Corlys Valerian, the sea snake, who's the richest man in the show. In the show, they chose to make the Valerians black, which does not help when I'm saying
Yeah,
the blacks,
yeah.
which is a little
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
And the other side is the Greens, which are this new family he has with Alicent Hightower. Otto Hightower, like the second most powerful man in the realm. He's a schemer. He's played excellently by Rhys Ifan, I believe is his name in the show. He's amazing.
All right, you just wanted everybody to know you know the name of his actor.
No,
We're all
I was
impressed.
saying, can
We're
you
all
please
impressed
describe-
you watch
can you please
Glidus
describe
and Alt
Otto
Shift X.
Hightower, how cool he is.
Yeah, he's cool in the show.
That was
Yeah.
all, thank you. Yeah.
Otto Hightower's smile is like a meme. He's super cool. So you get these two, like the new family and the old family are like all at war. Not at war yet.
And
but
Viserys
it's
definitely doesn't do anything to make the conflict
Yeah,
worse
so
by
in
being
in
inactive.
the show, Viserys is autistic and he likes building models, and he just like builds models while tensions rise and ignores them.
Everybody's like
Okay.
debating who should be king next, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
go play with
not
toys."
helpful.
Is
Oh,
this,
yeah,
is this the
Otto
meme?
Hightower.
Is this the meme?
Otto Hightower
is it this
smile.
one?
I don't know.
I hate you.
No specific one.
Looks
But
like he's homeless.
so eventually Otto oversteps his bounds because it's very clear that he's trying to put his descendants on the throne
Yeah.
of this new family. He gets fired. They bring in a new guy named Lionel Strong who becomes hand of the king. His son named Harwin Strong is the one who's fucking Rhaenyra actually.
Okay.
So
he's the real father of the heirs.
yeah. There's tensions. Eventually, the Strong family are all killed. Probably by in the show it's by Larys Strong, who's a brother who's been like mistreated, and so tensions are rising. Daemon's back in play. Eventually, Aemond, who's one of the Aemond is Rhaenyra's like younger brother. He claims Vagar. The last of the surviving dragons of the conquest, now as big as Balerion.
Oh, wow.
And so now we're getting a Cold War building where they're massing their sides with dragons.
Yeah.
But
Aemond
they don't
loses,
actually want to have to go to
yeah,
war with each other
Aemond
to
loses
score
an
here.
eye
Right.
in a fight with Rhaenyra's kids, and that's one of the ways tensions rise.
Cool. Is this like real life, or that makes him illegitimate for the throne?
What do you mean?
I don't know, like Persia.
Oh,
if you
no,
had
no,
no
no,
eye,
no.
you were illegitimate. Okay.
No, he still has one eye. Otto returns his hand to the king. Unfortunately, both Laenor and Laena die. Rhaenyra's husband, who's gay, and Daemon's wife. And so Daemon and Rhaenyra end up marrying.
Okay.
Which is her uncle.
Her uncle.
Okay.
However, her heirs are still those kids who are totally bastards, but totally not
Yeah,
Right,
bastards.
right.
Or legitimized bastards.
Well, legitimate parentheses bastards.
Sure,
right.
And so that is that. And we lead into as Viserys' health fails. He has a wasting illness on the show. We lead to when he dies. When Viserys dies, the Blacks are away from King's Landing. And Aegon, the eldest son of of him and Alicent is declared king in King's Landing. Aegon is kind of a fuck up.
By Otto Hightower, who's Hand of the King again.
Yeah, who's his grandpa? Declares him the king. The capital is on lockdown.
We do not need the other heirs returning to the capital.
Yeah, because they're trying to control information. So I'll point out that in this tournament, the Blacks have the dragons Melees, the Red Queen. They have Cyrax, and they have Caraxes. They're all like
Are you
fighting.
going to do dragon math for the next
Yeah,
15 minutes?
But they have like 3 fighting age dragons. We'll put it this way.
How many do the
They
Greens
They have I'll do that in a second. But then they also have a few young dragons and a few unclaimed ones. Like they have the dragons of the old king and queen there, but no one's claimed them for a while. They're very old. They're in dragon retirement.
I see. Give them a volcano.
The Blacks, Aegon has a dragon named Sunfire. His wife has a dragon.
Sister wife.
Dreamfire. Daeron the Daring has his dragon Tessera the Blue Queen, but the heavy hitter is Vhagar, his brother Aemond One Eye, as he'll henceforth be known.
Why is he called
Vhagar.
that?
Yeah, Aemond One Eye. Vhagar is so big in the show that they visually show it as if it's like 2 to 3 size the time, at least 2 to 3 times the size of any other dragon, and then of the smaller dragons, it's maybe like 10 times the size of them.
Okay.
It is a nuke. Like if it goes one-on-one with any other dragon, it will
destroy them. Yeah.
So they'd have to band together, ideally. So Aegon is crowned king by his grandpa and his mom, Alicent Hightower, and he is the king in the King's Landing. And Rhaenyra is in Dragonstone. She's just been giving birth during this time, which is rough.
That's kind of rough.
And she has 2 more kids with her uncle, the confusingly not named Aegon, who will be known as Aegon the Younger, and Viserys. Aegon will be here.
Okay, so we've reached Aegon the second and the third at the same
Yes.
time.
We're Aegon the Elder, and Aegon the Younger.
Aegon the Elder and Aegon the Younger.
Is the
would
next
not be
one
friends.
Aegon the Fat? Or is there another title?
No, Aegon the Unworthy.
Oh, yeah.
So 2 councils are formed. The Green Council in King's Landing and the Black Council in Dragonstone.
And they hate each other.
They hate each other.
Okay.
And so they both send a bunch of emissaries because they want to try to be able to end this bloodlessly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's valid.
They cut
and
off the emissary's hands again.
So of course,
that'll fix
the
it.
Greens have the Reach. The Hightowers are the second most important family down here.
Yeah.
They have the Westerlands, so they have this part of the thing. The Blacks secure the North. Because Cregan
Starks,
Cregan Stark, who's loyal, they love
He made the oaths.
he made the oaths, and they also he signs Cregan Stark, who's the current Lord, signs a pact of brohood with Jace, who is the eldest son of Rhaenyra, one of the strong kids who are bastards.
Yeah. So he's setting himself up to be friends of the next king.
Yeah. But also he would just be friends anyways because he's a bro.
He's a cool guy.
The Vale also goes for the Blacks because the current ruler, if you remember, Rhaenyra is half Aaron.
Yeah.
That's good.
Is that there?
So
But
it's
the
a true east.
but the big-
So it's like northeast versus southwest.
Yes,
What
but
about the
the true-
Riverlands?
the Riverlands are very divided. There are these 2 houses named the Bracken and the Blackwoods, which are based on the Hatfields and the McCoys. The Blackwoods go Black, Rhaenyra, because so George R.R. Martin has chosen the Blackwoods to be his favorite house and the Brackens to be his least favorite house. So in every succession dispute, the Blackwoods are on the right side and the Brackens are on the wrong side.
Okay.
The Blackwoods are like sorcerers. They have the blood of the old gods in them.
Wizard
Yeah, and the Brackens are a bunch of dumb fuck barbarians who like horses.
Do they fuck horses?
Probably.
Because they have
George
horse
R. R.
blood.
Martin, if you don't learn anything from any of the sorcerer women or any of this, what George R. R. Martin puts above everything else is goth pussy. And so that's going to be I can't put it any other way. That's what he likes.
Not even-
Can you attest to this?
That's most of the books, yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly goth pussy.
Cool.
There's also some
about-
dragons
okay, what
and
about
other
the
shit in there
iron?
somewhere.
Yeah,
What about the Iron Isles?
they aren't gonna really matter. They sort of do
They
their own
F
thing.
off. What about
they're kind of
the
fishy.
Stormlands. That's where we're getting.
Yeah.
Both sides send emissaries to the Stormlands. Rhaenyra sends her second oldest son, Lucerys, who is called Luke for it being easier.
Sure.
The Greens send Aemon One Eye.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And Aemon One Eye gets there first, and he signs a pact with the Baratheons, who are cousins into both. They're descended from a Targaryen bastard.
Right.
Oh, I thought you were tired. I realized you were doing the one eye thing as a bit.
He's dying.
But they do that. He signs a pact with the Baratheons that Aemon One Eye will marry one of the Baratheon daughters.
Okay.
However, Luke gets there too, but he's too late.
Yeah.
They've already signed the pact. And so Luke decides, he tries to leave to go back to his mom, but Aemon chases him on Vagar.
Fuck with the
Yeah.
emissaries!
And Vagar, there had been enmity as
Sorry, I'm
kids
yelling
in
a
between
lot.
those. No, it's
Oh,
fine.
you're good.
Keep the energy high. Where Luke was the one who carved out Aemon's eye when they were kids. Because they got in a fight, as kids do.
There's already bad blood between
Yeah,
these people,
and
on
so
top of the
his-
house rivalry.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
big ass dragon and this really tiny dragon. And the first
Yeah.
blood of the Dance of Dragons has been spilled, and one of Rhaenyra's kids is dead.
That
cool.
sucks.
Yeah.
That's like a super heavy first blow. Holy
Yes. And so he gets yeeted. The Valerians, however, they have the biggest navy in the sea
hell.
sink.
Not really useful against something that can breathe fire, though, right?
But they
It
can
lives
form a
in water,
blockade.
though.
Because remember, King's Landing's right here. They
Yeah.
control this.
What about the
They-
Kraken?
The
You can't
Kraken?
catch the water.
Not
on
really
fire.
important in this.
Ah.
There are
Um,
not really any Krakens, right? Like in the actual book series, like
Yeah.
presumably the Greyjoys could have summoned one like 1,000 years ago and might summon one in the
So dragon.
modern story.
There's a
Okay.
cyclical thing about magic in this universe where, much like Ice Ages, there are periods of high magic and low magic.
Okay.
There seems to be some sort. There's very much the essence of the magic of all this is dualism: ice and fire, land and sea.
Yeah.
And like Valyria back then, that was a period of high magic. We're in a period of low magic right now because there aren't that many dragons. I mean, there seemed like a lot, but in comparison to when there were 80 dragon
Yeah.
families,
Yeah.
and when there were ice zombies, and when moon
Where
meteors-
are they, by the way?
Yeah, where are the White Walkers? They're just behind the wall.
We don't know. That's one of the mysteries of the series. They're in
Oh.
the north.
Antarctica,
They're
basically.
just chilling.
Well, that would
Get
be
it? Do you
Shut
get
the
it?
fuck up.
Yeah,
I'm
the
gonna
North
fight
Pole.
you.
Well, they're
Actually,
in the
it's the
North right now,
Arctic.
right?
Yeah. What?
We're gonna fight.
Okay.
You correct me about the Antarctica, Arctic again, dude.
Yeah. So this is gonna get event heavy, but we're gonna power through this. So Rhaenyra is crowned with her father's crown because one of the Kingsguard of her father defects, and he brings them the crown, and she is crowned there.
It's the
in
crown made of
Dragonstone.
the like special...
Valyrian steel, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
So-
Nobody gets stabbed with the crown.
Civil war erupts in the Riverlands between because House Tully, the Overlord, is ruled by a very old man. Yeah.
What's his name, and why are his kids also named after Muppets?
Okay, so I don't remember the specifics. But
There's
Elmo,
Grover, Oscar, and
Kermit,
Elmo.
Grover, yeah, her name. I can't remember his name specifically, but he has just because George thought it'd be funny.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is funny.
Because it's
You
a
got
long.
me.
The
But he
book
is
is like an in-universe history book, so he decided to make this generation of Tullys all have Muppet names.
That is
But
funny.
he is a sickly old man, and his kids, out of respect for him, aren't going to declare a side in the war until after he dies.
Okay.
So
That's valid. That's
so
nice.
but yes, it's a time of crisis, so it's kind of important.
Yeah, I guess so.
So because he's not controlling his vassals, they all start going to war anyways.
Oh,
Cool.
well, shit.
That's what happens when you're a weak king.
Yeah, the Valerians blockade there, and so King's Landing begins to starve. Remember those pirates
Hmm?
that
Yeah.
Daemon fought all the way back then?
Yeah.
The Greens call up the pirates
Oh my
and
God.
say, you can have the stepstones again if you go break the blockade. And so they try to. There's a huge battle, and unfortunately, Jace, the oldest son, is killed. So now
Ooh.
Rhaenyra is down to 3 sons.
Poor
Her
Rhaenyra.
youngest son, Joffrey, and then Aegon the Younger and Viserys.
Why is Aegon the Younger pictured smoking a fat blunt?
It's
He's
based
a
on
doomer.
because when he's actually king, he's super depressed.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be like a guy like depressed smoking.
Okay.
He's the doomer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you're almost halfway through.
Yeah.
Um,
It's only been
4 hours.
yeah.
What didn't we start
Nah,
at?
it's been 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he's gonna
Target
spend an hour
only
talking about
feels
how
like
cool Blood
20
Raven
minutes.
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Daeron the Daring,
Back to
the
the
youngest
war.
son of the youngest of the Green Sons, burns the Reach, and there's one house. There's only one house in the Reach is loyal to the Blacks, and they are House Beesbury. Their sigil is the bee.
Hell yeah.
When
I thought it was
hope
a
not.
honeycomb.
what
I thought there was a beehive. Was there?
beehive?
I
Yeah.
hope that the answer
When
is no.
remember when in King's Landing they crowned Aegon?
Yeah.
There's one member of the small council who thinks this is bullshit named Lyman Beesbury, and he's like 4,000 years old.
Yeah.
He's like 80 or something,
Yeah.
and he's like,
Which
I
in
swore-
medieval times is like 200.
Yeah, he swore an oath, so he's like, no, fuck you.
Real. Oh, that's real shit.
And so they throw him out a window.
The old guy, or
Yeah. And so the
Or Beesbury.
the House Beesbury back there, they think he's still alive and being held hostage, but
They don't
they're
care.
boys. But Daeron the Daring takes him out, and the Reach campaign is won decisively for the Greens, and everything's turning up green. There's also a battle at Rook's Rest, in which Rook's Rest is a castle right here, or here, near Cracklaw Point, but just west of it, which one of Rhaenyra's small council holds Rook's Rest, and it's under attack, but it looks like the Greens haven't brought any dragons. So
Is the
they
big one
send
the battlefield itself?
they send the queen,
Yeah.
the queen who never was, over to investigate, and she's met in battle by Aegon II himself under board his dragon Sunfire. She fucks him up. Sunfire's
Oh,
a
hell
little
yeah.
bitch dragon.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
Not actually, it's very strong.
And he's the
but-
king.
Yeah,
But
and
hers
he's,
is able to
and
destroy
he is-
his.
He's
Yeah,
not
and-
very intelligent.
and
He's like,
Sunfire
I'm
is-
riding into battle myself.
Sunfire is grievously wounded,
Right.
assumed dead, left in the field. He is fucked up and burned and taken back to King's Landing. And
Okay.
it looks like the Blacks have won their
Yeah.
first win. Except, wait for it, Vagar swoops out of
Oh
nowhere.
my god.
And kills the queen who never was and her dragon.
Ooh.
And yes.
In the show, it's implied Aemon did it on purpose so
Yes.
his brother might die, right?
Yeah,
So
in the
okay.
show, it's all dragons are three dragons are fighting at once,
Yeah.
and Aemon chomps both dragons because he
Ooh.
wants he wants to usurp his
Yeah,
brother.
yeah,
Right, he wants
In
an
the books-
excuse to be king.
Yeah, in
Mhm.
the books, it seemed like it was a coordinated attack.
But the plan would be so stupid to send the small dragon with
Yeah.
your king on it first that like you kind of have to assume that Aemon
Yeah.
probably either convinced his brother to do a dumb plan or
Yeah.
changed the plan on the fly to
Yeah.
make himself king.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you put two siblings.
And
one
also
throne.
in the show, Aemon covets his sister Helena, who's married to his older brother.
Okay.
So he got
That's a
incest
double
cucked.
incest. That's a
Yeah.
triangle where they're all
Incest
siblings.
cucked is a bad
incest
movie.
love triangle.
Yeah. So that
That's
happened.
rough.
That's not the first one. Well, or not the last one I
Oh my
made.
god.
Cool.
And so also there's been a character here I forgot to mention named Kristen Cole, who is the Lord Commander. They call him the Kingmaker. He was like one of the rallying forces who really hates Rhaenyra. So he helped crown Aegon.
He's
In-
a green guy.
I don't know. Sorry, I keep going to you for the show, but you can explain his relationship with Rhaenyra in the show.
Yeah, because the kings aren't supposed to take a
Fuck.
wife or have sex, and he fucks her when he's a Kingsguard, and then is like, wait, he regrets it, and decides not to do it, and so he turns like incel and gets mad at her,
Yeah.
and so then when she like actually becomes the queen, he's like, fuck you.
He's literally he's
Wow.
one of the best characters in the show. Like in the book we don't have that. Because the book Fire and Blood is a historical thing that's aside from the main series, and we get like it's presented as an historical text. So the show is almost saying what actually happened in some
Yeah.
cases, versus that. Of course, there are things that directly contradict book canon, but it is what it is.
Right.
Um,
well, book canon is like the religious people making a history, right?
Yeah. Well, not religious, but scholarly people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't there a mix? They sometimes cite religious people, but the main guy's like a scholar.
Yeah.
Cool.
The North sends down an army. They're working on getting a peasant levy of their main force, but they send down a group called the Winter Wolves because winter is about to come.
Oh yeah.
Bro,
see,
you
I will
can't
note-
stop to explain the Winter Wolves 4.5 hours.
No, that's not what I'm explaining. I'm saying I forgot to explain the seasons.
Oh, okay.
Seasons last for like generations.
Oh.
Like spring
Ooh.
might last for like 10 years.
Well, not always, right? Like sometimes they're short, but they can be.
But short is like a few years.
Okay.
When winter, that's why it's very important to stockpile a lot of grain when winter comes, because that means like
Right,
no
'cause it's gonna
harvesting
be there for a while.
Yeah.
That actually severely impacts the world building.
Yeah,
here.
Especially the
Okay.
North. I mean,
Yeah, so the Winter Wolves are an army of old men who know they aren't going to survive the winter anyways, so they're the first volunteer
So they're
force
like
in South.
They're
suicidal.
cool.
Yeah,
cool.
they're
Okay.
awesome, and they destroy Lannister forces over in the Westerlands. Kristen Cole is killed and just kind of off screen, so whatever. But Rhaenyra is furious because 2 of her sons are dead.
Yeah.
And she takes King's Landing because the king is incapacitated.
Yeah.
However, someone, Larys Strong, the Master of Whisperers, and Lord Confessor formerly,
Who we can't trust because he has a club foot.
He has a
so
club
you know
foot.
that's shorthand
Okay.
for can't
Hey,
trust.
how did she take the King's
Landing.
Landing if I thought you said
One eye?
that guy's dragon?
One eye.
Oh,
said-
oh.
Yeah.
I thought you
Oh.
said that he attacked both
So-
of them.
This is no. He attacked the queen who never was, not the actual queen. The queen who never was, Rainey.
Oh, yeah.
No. So
Yeah.
what happens is it's a really smart diversion where Daemon, during this time, has been marshaling forces in the Riverlands to support Rhaenyra at Harrenhal. Daemon then leaves, abandons Harrenhal, and goes over to help her coordinate an attack on King's Landing. Vagar, the One Eye, after winning at Rook's Rest, thinks King's Landing is safe, so he then goes to the Riverlands, and they draw him out so that they can take the city. Yeah.
So it's like when in the Pink Panther they run around the column
Yes,
after
exactly.
each other.
Because once again, if they one-on-one with Vagar, they're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They need a lot of
They're like
sanity
diverting him. They're just diverting him.
Yeah. And so they take that. At one point, Rhaenys wanted to raise more dragon riders, so she lets anyone try to step right up and hop on a dragon.
Okay.
On Dragonstone.
How many people are killed by the Dova?
Oh,
A lot of
like
them.
Yeah, that seems like a
It's the term they call it is what the red,
red
sowing.
sowing.
That gives you a picture of how many people died.
Now, the Targaryens have been here for generations, and they've had lots of bastards.
Yes.
And so there are people known as dragon seeds, or people who have Targaryen blood.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 of them are able to claim dragons, who are, we don't know,
Nice.
the show gives like concrete origins, that they're bastards of one king or another. We don't know in the book who they are. It's just they're silver-haired people. They have Targaryen blood. They're peasants from around the Crown Lands.
Sure.
One is named Hugh the Hammer. He's strong, big, hoss type dude. He has dragon dreams. He has a dream that said when the hammer falls, there will be a new king. And so
Or it'll be the end of the Targaryen Dynasty.
It'll be the end of the Targaryen
He's
Dynasty.
Like, it's me.
And so
I'm the
he thinks
hammer.
he's Hugh the Hammer. He thinks when the hammer, hammer falls, not like hammer dies, but like hammer like falls, like rains. He has an image.
He has
of
a very optimistic view of
He has
prophecy.
he has a dream of a hammer crashing a dragon banner.
Oh,
like
okay.
a dragon. So he's
Yeah,
like, I'm the
that's
hammer.
That's
cool.
better
Yeah.
than...
So Hugh Hammer has some ideas. The other
Hammer
one's named
falls.
Ulf the White, and he's a drunk.
Skyrim.
And so Hugh the Hammer claims Vermithor, the dragon of Jaehaerys,
Nice.
the Bronze Fury. Ulf claims Silver.
See, the Bronze Fury, that's...
Yeah.
I love these titles.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
the second name.
This
That's
is so much
right.
better than every king in history
However,
being the great.
You can't
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't trust like random peasants who just give dragons, and they both betray.
Oh, no
Rhaenyra.
shot.
They go over to the Greens.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. That did not work at all.
There's a battle at one of the other dragon seeds that got it was Alan Valerian, or not Alan Valerian, fucking goddamn
Alan of Hull.
Alan, no, not Alan of Hull, because he'll be Alan the Oakenfist, his brother.
Adam of Hull.
Adam of Hull. Is that still going, by the way?
Yeah.
The other one is Nettle. She's not very important, so we're not going to go into her.
Okay.
But Adam of Hull is a guy they claim he was a bastard fathered by the gay kid Laenor.
Oh.
He's actually a bastard fathered by Corlys the Sea Snake.
Okay.
But he claims a dragon, and he helps Sea Smoke, his gay alleged dad's former dragon.
Yeah.
And there are a bunch of battles. There's 2 battles at Tumbleton, which is over in the Reach. The first one, a bunch of guys get killed. The last of the Winter Wolves are wiped out.
Oh.
And the second one,
They got all the way to Reach?
well, these are the Greens. The Greens
the
are
Winter
approaching.
Wolves.
The Winter Wolves.
Oh,
yeah.
the Winter Wolves, yeah, because they came down.
They
from,
killed a lot of guys.
They went to Poland.
They were effective.
Yeah,
They were effective.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's
more.
the first Tumbleton is the betrayers when they betray and they kill a bunch of people. I'm fast forwarding through all of this because you don't need the details of every individual battle, just the dragons. But Hugh and Ulf betray. There's a second battle between the timeline. I'm also moving around just because it simplifies things.
Yeah.
But basically, actually I'll get to that one last because it's actually very important. But in King's Landing, Rhaenyra is governing. And basically, they're getting ass raped in every battle, basically, outside of it. Aside from the Winter Wolves have been getting this, but,
Yeah.
they've just gotten betrayed.
Yeah.
Daemon decides he's going to go fuck up Aemon One Eye.
Oh, how? What?
Yeah, and Daemon and Aemon both die in an epic dragon duel above the God's Eye. And it is bad that Rhaenyra lost him, but he died upholding his wife's cause, and he kills his dragon, which is way smaller than Vagar.
Kills the massive
the massive one.
How? Just
Skill.
So
Turn
mainly
on
in
the
this
shower?
show,
Yeah.
it's showing us like a fucked up dragon with a long ass neck
Yeah.
that like constrict people and shit.
Oh,
But
yeah.
somehow it gets to the throat of Vagar and like rips it out. But both riders and both dragons are killed in the fight. But in the climax, Daemon is the wielder of Dark Sister, the one that normally goes
Yes, yeah.
to women.
yeah.
Daemon, during the climax of it, while the 2 dragons are sort of like grappling in the air, trying to kill each other, and Caraxes is going for the throat.
Yeah.
Daemon jumps off his dragon, plunges his sword into the remaining single eye of
Oh,
Aemon,
hell yeah.
kills him, and then just falls off to his death. And then,
That's pretty cool.
Is the sword recovered?
the sword is recovered
Okay.
because Aemond is still in his dragon, is found still in his dragon saddle, like the corpse of the dragon,
Oh.
with the sword through the
Oh, wow.
remaining eye. So Daemon, despite being a figurative bastard
Yeah.
who did a lot of fucked up things, he did die upholding the cause of his wife, and
it was really cool and badass.
and it was really cool and badass.
Yeah.
And by taking out the super weapon, that means that it's conceivable that any 1v1 is a lot more winnable.
Yeah, the
for them.
blacks have like
Yeah.
a fighting chance now.
However, there are a bunch of riots in King's Landing, where the peasants rise up because they haven't had any food because everything's getting blockaded,
Right.
and they kill all of Team Black's remaining dragons because they're
Oh,
chained up.
no.
Holy
Holy
fuck!
Well, that's
So Daemon's
not
sacrifice did not work. And Rhaenyra flees to Dragonstone.
Okay. To London.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Rhaenyra.
Go to holiday to London.
When she gets there, however, because no one's seen Aegon II. When she gets to Dragonstone, who's there but
Oh.
Aegon II? And he's like, I lived, bitch! And also, no one's seen Aegon II's dragon, Sunfire, which is assumed dead.
Right.
Sunfire's right there.
there?
Yeah.
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
also a moment where like Sunfire in the show, there's a cute scene where like Sunfire like nuzzles Aegon, and they're like, oh, they're best friends.
Yeah.
And he thought his dragon was dead. And then he's like, Sunfire! Sunfire! my best friend!
Oh
my fucking
my
boy!
God.
And they're fucking boys.
They're
and,
fucking boys.
No.
Sunfire,
Not
Sunfire.
But he captures Rhaenyra, and she's like, my men will, and this is one of the best lines George wrote in his entire history book. She goes, my men will find me. And Aegon goes, if they search the 7 hells, mayhaps. And he feeds her to his dragon.
Oh, damn.
Unfortunately, Sunfire fights, they had like one more dragon that's not really that important.
Yeah.
That was a weak dragon. Sunfire dies killing that other dragon.
Oh.
And so now...
How many remain?
So, now the only ones left are the 2 betrayers.
That's
Adam Valerion, who has Sea Smoke, and Tessarion the Blue Queen, 4, and they're all down here.
And 2 of them are in the hands of
People who are definitely
revolting peasants.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
awesome.
Aegon then recaptures
Like
King's
giving
Landing.
Nicaragua 2 nukes.
Yeah.
and
He
taking
just
them
goes
all
by
from the
himself
US.
and he's like, I'm king still.
We still rolling, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah. So they recapture King's Landing, the Greens, that is.
Yeah.
However, there's still war to play out in the Reach because the last Black forces, they have one last Dragon Rider, which is Adam Valerion.
Oh yeah.
And he captures this. He also captures Rhaenyra's remaining kids. Joffrey's killed in the Dragon Pit, and he's left with 2 kids, Aegon the Younger and Viserys, and he has them as hostage. Aegon's kids were all murdered, or at various points. Aegon had 3 kids. Aegon the Elder.
Yeah.
One was assassinated by
Lord's
the blood
beheaded
cheese
guy.
incident, which I skipped over because I can't spend that much time
Sure,
with Dance of
yeah.
Dragons. The other 2 were similarly, well, one was murdered and then another got held captive. Not super important for now. But the final battle will be here at Second Tumbleton. So here is the issue. Aegon holds King's Landing and he has a lot of men, but he doesn't have a dragon.
Yeah.
There are 3 dragons left to him, but there's only one loyal dragon left to him,
Yeah,
Daeron, who would be his heir, I suppose. And Daeron has Tessarion the Blue Queen, and they're the 2 betrayers, and
Yeah.
then there are the black / remaining dragon.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets like.
Yeah. Shit hits the fan.
So there's a battle at Second Tumbleton. Adam flies in. Daeron is killed before he can even get onto his dragon.
Well, that's
And
unfortunate.
then, similarly, Hugh the Hammer is like, all right, this is my time, boys. I'm gonna be the king. And then he is killed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
The hammer
And
falls.
he's killed by his own side because
Yeah.
they knew he was going to try to make himself king. So like
No,
when
not Hugh.
no, he's killed by the Caltrops.
No, that's the next guy.
But isn't there a wait? Oh, okay.
Ulf and Daeron are both killed before they get their dragon.
Yeah, yeah.
So that is not the hammer.
What happens
that
to their
kills the
creatures?
dragon.
They just leave.
The
They're
dragons
we don't
are
have a
fighting.
letter?
Because they have a psychic link with their masters and
They
they
want to
fight.
like avenge their. Like,
Adam
yes.
Valerion is killed, and all the dragons at Tumbleton end up dead.
All of them.
Except for Silverwing.
Okay.
Ulf because Ulf the White, one of the betrayers, slept through
He was
the battle
hungover.
because he got
Oh my
super
God.
plastered. And when he wakes up,
And
he's the last
only
guy
one
with the
with the
dragon.
beast?
Yeah, there was one person who had a.
And
one
that's
of
the
peasants-
last one.
One of the
right?
peasants who had a dragon, and then she just flew away.
Okay, so there are
so-
now 2 beasts remaining.
Yeah.
But one of them's out, so it's just one beast remaining. And he's like, "Well, I guess I'm going to be a king then."
Yeah.
And one of his guys, because they know Ulf's going to be a terrible king. 'cause he's
Yeah.
out.
right.
One of the guys goes, "Let's have a toast to you, my king." And they both sip a
Squawks
drink.
the cyanide.
It's yeah, but the one guy is such a badass because he made sure Ulf was paranoid that he was going to be poisoned, so he made sure that the other guy also drank from the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the other guy poisoned himself just to make sure that there was no king. Ulf.
That's
left.
badass.
That's kind of based.
Yeah. And so that's all dead. Dragons are no more. There's only 2 dragons left, tamed by man. One was claimed by a peasant girl who then flew away and is never heard from again.
Okay.
Um,
Actually
and-
never heard from again?
Actually never heard from again.
Okay.
The other one is like very small and held by one of
Well, a very small beast is still a beast.
yeah, but it's held by one of its name is Morning. I think it only grows to be about like horse sized. Not that it's
Oh,
written,
okay.
but not that it's
Morning like the day or morning like green?
Morning like the day. Either would be accurate.
Yeah.
But it's one of Daemon's daughters. He had Lena Valerion. She's not super important.
Okay.
But yes. So Aegon comes back to King's
Like on the
Landing.
second or the third?
Second. He comes back to King's Landing. He's like, "Well, I'm Aegon the Second. I'm gonna be look at this. I won the war. I won the war. I won the war.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
the only survivor!
He has no
Yay!
dragons. However, the peasant levy in the north is
Oh,
finished.
it's finished.
And Cregan Stark is
Oh my
coming down, and
God.
he's like, that guy I signed an oath of brohood with, Jace, he's dead.
Yeah.
And I'm here to avenge him.
Oh,
I'm,
nice.
I'm Cregan Stark. Cregan Stark! Cregan Stark! Cregan Stark!
I like this guy for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Says,
And
I am
Dave
the,
marches
look at
down,
me. I am the
And
captain.
Yeah.
and he's outside King's Landing, and Aegon, who's like burnt and like fucked up, he's like, we're gonna go to the last man. It's gonna be a bloody siege. Millions will die. It's gonna be fucked up. Whoa! Woo!
Millions
And then his
must
own men
die.
poison him.
Yep.
That's
about right.
And then what's left is the.
So really, neither the Greens or
No.
the Blacks won. It was
The
really the
Starks
North
won.
who won everything.
Yeah, and so Cregan Stark, however, is an honorable man.
So who does he put on the throne?
He puts Aegon III, Rhaenyra's eldest remaining child, on it because he swore an oath.
Yeah.
that's
And now he's
yeah.
basically the regent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because he survived because at the beginning of the war, Rhaenyra sent her super young kids across the sea to fantasy Europe
Yeah.
to be safe from
Yeah,
the.
so Viserys,
the war.
her youngest son, is assumed missing.
Viserys the second? Or
Yeah.
does he not get that title?
He will be, but he's missing right now.
Okay.
Because he was kidnapped by pirates.
Of course.
But Aegon is crowned by Cregan Stark. Cregan Stark becomes Hand of the King for I think it's a few days. It's called the Hour of the Wolf. And he literally, there's a very short thing where in between Aegon dying and the crowning of between Aegon II dying and the crowning of Aegon III, there are a few pretender kings where people try to just peasant mobs try to claim the throne.
Oh, wow.
Trystane True Flame and Gaemon Palehair, not super important. But he basically
Are they burned by morning?
what?
Are they killed by morning?
No.
Oh.
No, Cregan. Cregan comes in and he goes literally, because everyone has just turned over the castle to him. They just poisoned their king. He's like,
Yeah.
they're like, we're loyal to you now, my lord. And he has all of them killed. Because he's like, you just betrayed one
That's
guy.
true,
yeah.
I cannot trust you.
Yeah,
and so he
that's
basically
valid.
kills anyone who has flipped sides.
Yeah.
And
He's a smart guy.
yeah, he kills anyone who has flipped sides.
The
puts
Italian
a bunch of
Parliament from World War II.
puts a
will
bunch
not
of
survive.
puts a bunch of loyal people in charge, and then resigns his hand to the king and goes back to the north.
That is so fucking based.
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
That's cool.
Cregan, can we get one more?
Cregan
Cregan
Stark!
Stark!
Cregan Stark! Cregan
He's
Stark!
like the
And
only
finally,
good guy.
Cregan Stark gets goth pussy because he marries one of the House Blackwood, Black Alley, and so yeah.
Hell
so
yeah. Hell yeah.
You can't tell George R. R. Martin, the author, likes this guy.
Yeah.
Still rolling?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're about half. Well, it's gonna go way faster because
Cool.
you get eventually
The
Fire
triple.
and Blood only covers half of the Targaryen reign, and so we're gonna lose detail in a bit, and it'll go faster.
Cool.
So crowned upon the death of his uncle, Aegon III is depressed. All of his family's died. He's traumatized.
Yeah.
During very early on in his reign, the last dragon dies. They hatch a dragon and then it just dies
Oh.
because it's all sickly.
What happened to Morning?
Mourning out of his written record. And I don't think it
Got
seems
eaten by
seems
the
kind of
horse people.
stunted, so it probably just didn't.
Got eaten by the
And then
fish
at the end of
people.
its life, it lived.
Yeah.
The writer
right.
married a high tower, so the Maesters seem to have a conspiracy against magic. That's something the fans hold.
Now the
So it's
only beast is ridden by the peasant girl who disappeared.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the dragon or the peasants or the Maesters may have poisoned the dragons.
Oh.
And so now the
So now there are no more nukes.
yeah the Targaryens are coasting on reputation.
Okay.
Now power only resides where men believe it to reside.
But they're fucked now because I thought that the creatures were the only things that could kill the White Walkers when
Yes.
they come. Yeah, that's gonna be a
That's
fucking
what the
problem.
main series is
That's
about.
gonna be a fucking problem. They
so,
still got the steel though, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
that can
They've
kill
got
them.
like 3 weapons.
Yeah, they've got like
of steel
three
and the crown.
swords.
Well, there are
Damn it.
Valyrian steel swords around Westeros.
Oh, okay.
Like a lot of a lot of houses as their prized possession
Have one of those weapons.
Yeah.
Okay.
His Aegon marries the last remaining daughter of Aegon II,
Okay.
Jaehaerys. However, she passed away fairly early, and he marries a second thing who is a Valyrian.
Okay.
So, Corlys, his not even gonna do the math. Anyways, Corlys, his grandpa, uncle,
Yeah.
His
Corlys
grandpa.
Valyrian.
If he had legitimate heritage, he would be his grandpa. But because he's actually a
No,
bastard.
he's not. Aegon.
Oh, you're right. It's Aegon. So he's not related to him by blood.
Well, he would be because Corlys has got to be part Targaryen.
Yeah, but not like they're not. We don't know how directly.
Yes.
Right?
So,
Probably
sorry,
like this guy.
his relative, basically his grandpa. We'll say basically his grandpa.
He
'cause grew up on
served as
Rick
his
Barton.
grandpa.
Okay.
Yeah, his surrogate grandfather is regent for a while. After a while, a guy named Unwin Peake takes over as regent. Yeah.
Oh, and it's the reason they make Corlys is Cregan wanted to kill him. I can't
Yeah.
remember why. I think he did switch sides at one point, but like
Yeah, he
under
switched sides
duress.
solely to not die.
But Cregan wants to kill him, but because he's basically the kid's grandpa, he's like the kid who's like 5 is like, I will try to kill you, Cregan, if you kill my grandpa.
Yeah. Despite being depressed, Aegon III is a bright kid. He's known as Aegon Dragonbane. But Dragonbane isn't a cool thing because it's the last dragon
Yeah,
that's
that
died.
sucks.
His young wife, the first Jaehaerys, kills herself because she's depressed. He marries the Valyrian. After his grandpa dies, Unwin Peake is
Best name of all time.
yeah, Unwin. So the Peakes
Wait,
had
unwin or
Yeah.
Wow.
Unwin. Yeah.
That's
UN.
unfortunate.
He has a lot of success.
That's like I'm a
The
gun
Win,
guy.
the
Yeah.
Peaks in another house called the Manderleys have a historical feud. And the Peaks are eventually fired for trying to overstep their bounds. Yeah.
And that's another one where George R. R. Martin just clearly loves the Manderleys.
Okay, so
And and hates he just makes the Peaks get shit on at
Okay,
every point,
so
and the Manderleys are
the
cool.
Manderleys are tremendously fat. They're schemers and they're very wise.
4 hours, by the way.
Are tremendously wise.
George R. R. Martin is a tremendously fat
Yeah.
author
Yeah.
who writes about scheming.
This is what George R. R. Martin looks like.
Oh, okay.
So the
Wow.
Manderleys, he likes them a lot. And
You do a little scheming.
he marries the Daenerys Valerian, who's a distant relative of his. However, Alan the Oakenfist, who was one of those kids,
Brother to the last guy who was loyal.
yeah, the last guy was Laurel, who ends up being named the heir to Corlys. He comes back because he's also a cool mariner, like swashbuckler. That comes back with Viserys, who turns out he's been alive this whole time.
Wait, the one?
Viserys,
No.
Oh,
The
two.
Kid was
brother.
captured by pirates.
Got it. Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah.
he was
Oh
the
my
free
God.
said he actually has a hot foreign wife.
Okay.
And
By the way, he's 12 when they find him.
Yeah, and he's already married to a 20-year-old wife.
Yeah.
Fantastic, as is tradition.
Yeah.
And he has like a kid and like more on the way. He's 12.
Fantastic.
And
Chad.
he's like a fucking genius too. He's been like, cause like this is like the Free Cities. It's like Renaissance, not Renaissance, but like
Yeah.
medieval Italy. They got like all this stuff. He's
Yeah.
been like taught by like all the smartest people in Essos,
yeah.
and he's a fucking Chad. And so these two brothers should be a pretty good future for the house. Last dragon dies. They marry into Viserys marries into, we'll call him Viserys II now for clarity.
He will eventually be Viserys
Viserys
too.
II. He marries into House Rogare. House Rogare are from Lys, which is over in here. And Lys are House Rogare are a Valyrian family. They
Yeah.
were not a dragon rider, but they are Valyrian. There
Okay.
are some Valyrians left in Essos.
Could they ride the beasts?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they exist.
And he has 3 kids. Aegon, which he names after his. This will be Aegon IV.
Okay.
Um,
The unworthy.
yes, Aemon and Nerys. Viserys is named heir for now. Viserys II is named heir to his brother since his brother didn't have everything. And Viserys is a fucking genius. He'll go on to become his brother's hand of the king.
Hell yeah.
He's pictured with the large brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last dragon dies. Mourning is not very important. Sheep Stealer is the one ridden by the peasant girl away. Silverwing, we don't really know what happened to it. It goes into dragon retirement in the Reach and then dies.
Hell yeah.
And there's one called Cannibal, which rides north and is never seen
Straight
again.
up cannibal?
Yeah, it
That's awesome.
eats other dragons.
Why did they call him
Cannibal and
that?
sheep stealer.
Yeah, he eats other
lives
dragons.
together in harmony forever.
And so,
Yeah.
he does end up, Aegon III, despite being depressed, he governs well during his time. He's a
Okay.
little withdrawn.
Yeah.
Understandably, his brother is his hand of the king. His brother is like, he's here with a giant brain.
Yeah.
Because he basically is the Shadow King for Viserys. Eventually,
He's
will
the real
spoiler
power
alert.
behind the throne.
Spoiler: he will inherit the throne, but
Yeah.
he'll only be for 2 years.
Okay.
Because he'll be like old by then.
Yeah.
Because he's a Shadow King for like 3
I
reigns.
mean, he rules for basically his
Yeah.
whole life. But
Yeah,
he's only
and-
actually the
Yeah,
king
because he
for
comes
2
back when
years.
he's 12, and this period is incredibly important for stabilizing the realm after the Dance of the Dragon. So
Yeah.
Viserys the
It's
second
like Pax Romana
is,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Viserys the second is I think the best king because of what he did with what he had. Where, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like on his actual accomplishments by king, he didn't do that much in his reign.
Yeah.
But like 3 people who don't care about being king are king in a row, but their reigns are good because he's Shadow King.
Yeah.
Cool.
And whereas Jaehaerys, there was a little blip of Maegor's reign, but there was the piece of the dragon.
Yeah.
I just think Viserys did more with less. So that's why he's my pick
Yeah,
for the best
he
one.
came back from nothing and then he did a bunch of good.
Aegon has holy shit, I forgot he has 5 kids. He has 3 daughters that are largely unimportant, but he has Daeron and Baelor as his 2 sons. Daeron is the young dragon. Aegon dies in his mid-30s because he gets sick and dies.
Okay.
We get to Daeron the young dragon. He decides that he wants to conquer Dorne. The place that famously, even though they had dragons, they could not destroy.
Great idea.
This is when, by the way, this is when the historical book
literally.
ends, so we're going to be
Vietnam.
moving faster.
Cool.
Daeron goes, I'm going to conquer Dorne! And they're like, you don't have a dragon. And he says, you're looking at him. I'm a dragon. Yeah, and they're all like, Day, run!
Hell yeah.
And it works. He conquers Dorne.
What?
Hurrah!
So he
Thank you.
he conquers Dorne, but it's a similar thing where like he takes the city, but like he doesn't have it, and they
Yeah.
start fighting like a Vietnam style.
Oh, so it's like a
guerrilla war.
Napoleon and Moscow type thing.
Yeah,
Where he takes the capital, but there was no battle.
and like he like wins a bunch of battles. He wins every single battle and loses the war, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it like he technically gets Dorne for like a month, but then
Yeah.
as soon as his army leaves, they just
Yeah.
Yeah.
overthrow all the
They
people?
literally the guy he leaves in charge, they throw out a window.
Yeah, like 2 weeks after he left.
Dorne
Yeah.
is awesome. Dorne's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
are cool. Yeah, and so he unites the 7 kingdoms for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's
He's the
bunch of-
first to
there's
do
bunch
it,
of-
though.
There's a bunch of assassination attempts in Dorne. His cousin, Aemon, who's known as the Dragon Knight, becomes Lord Commander of the
That
Kingsguard.
word comes up a fucking lot.
Yeah.
Why would he be
Mhm.
called that if he doesn't even have one?
Well, because he's of the dragon blood.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Because there's still their sigil
He's
too.
still
Yeah.
the king.
So, that makes
And
sense.
their sigil is a 3-headed dragon.
That's a cool thing.
And the Dragon Knight is a mega chad. And he
Their-
helps.
Their sigil is King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And like an important point why Viserys is so good is that Viserys too is that while Daeron is leading a stupid war the entire
Yeah.
time, the guy who's actually ruling is
Yeah,
Viserys.
is
Cool.
Because the domestic policy of Daeron, quote unquote, is great. The war is going to end up being pretty disastrous, but the domestic policy is actually being run by his uncle is pretty great.
Cool.
So he does his Alexander the Great shit, but eventually Daeron is killed. He's assassinated. 3 knights of the Kingsguard are slain defending him, and Aemon the Dragon Knight is captured. Though Aemon basically, I think they say like 24 men attack Aemon and Daeron, and Aemon, Daeron, and like the Kingsguard Knights. And Aemon, like only 2 guys are left standing. They eventually capture Aemon. So Aemon goes beast mode. And he's captured, and the second son of Aegon, Baelor the Blessed, comes into power. Baelor is a priest king.
The blessed.
He takes a vow of chastity.
It's
Oh, that's not good for a
He
king.
locks up his sisters because he doesn't want to be tempted to fuck them. He puts them in the maiden vault.
God.
The Maiden Vault?
Yeah.
Is that
and
the
he wants-
actual name?
And yes.
After he
That's
locked
so
his sisters
funny.
He
in
wants
it.
the bind the wounds between
Himself and the
Dorne,
church.
no, to be Dorne and
Oh.
the 7 Kingdoms, and his cousin still captured. So he walks barefoot from King's Landing to Sunspear
That's impressive.
and says, "You can kill me if you want, but I want peace." And they're
that's
like,
Chad. That's Chad.
and they're like, "All right."
Aww.
Yeah,
I
and
would've
so
stabbed
they get
him.
their independence back. And honestly, they probably just realized if they killed Baelor, it'd be way worse, because then Vizzy T2 would be on the throne explicitly.
Yeah.
And then he'd have a great Casus Belli to, like, fucking...
Destroy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have
and
to-
again, just more with Vizzy T2 is the guy actually ruling while Baelor is being
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
schizophrenic.
So,
is
you
him.
get guaranteed... oh, yeah, Baelor is, like, explicitly schizophrenic. He has, like, visions.
Good.
And Vizzy T2 is, like... It probably... Like, he was probably
They're not like
hoping Baelor
dragon
didn't come
dreams.
back.
It's like schizophrenia, not like dragon dreams.
Well, they don't come true.
Oh,
Dragon
is it
dreams...
the fucking
Oh.
Oh!
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Ethan
can't
takes
catch
the lead.
myself. I can't catch myself.
You gotta say Doba or
I know.
Wyvern or
If
Beast.
the compound words are hard.
Yeah, that's how it got me. That's how it got me.
All right. Okay, so Aemon, Aemon the Dragon Knight is suspended over a pit of vipers, and Baelor is allowed. He goes. The guy holding him hostage goes, "Go ahead, go through the vipers and go get your cousin." And he walks through, and this is considered a miracle of Baelor the Blessed. He gets through, and he gets the shit bit out of him.
Oh,
he
doesn't die?
He just doesn't die, and he
Well,
frees
boy.
his
He
cousin.
just gets bit like
Drinks
80
honey
times
badger antitoxin.
and spends like 3 weeks almost dead,
Yeah,
but barely
but
survives.
And he definitely doesn't come out crazier from that.
Good.
And then, but it's awesome because Aemon's a Chad. He carries the unconscious king back to King's Landing.
Okay.
So Aemon the Dragon Knight's pretty awesome. Baelor dissolves. He was nominally married to his sister for like a week, but then he dissolves the marriage. He outlaws prostitution, which is unpopular.
Yeah.
And he begins building what's known as the Sept of Baelor, which will be the new Vatican. But
Okay.
importantly, instead of the old Vatican was all the way over here,
They
the
put
new
it in
Vatican
King's
is
Landing?
in King's Landing. That way, they can keep a watchful eye.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's a better place for the Pope to live. It's
however,
right next to the
and
King's
so-
army.
he starts becoming he starts building plans to invade the Iron Islands in the north because the Iron Islands worship the Drowned God, and in the north Cthulhu.
Oh,
In the
okay.
north
Oh,
follow
right,
the old
yeah.
gods, whereas everywhere else follows the faith of the Seven, which is Catholicism. And he starts making plans on these insane wars that are going to destroy the realm.
Oh wow.
And so VZT2
It's
makes
like
the
maybe don't.
makes
Maybe
the
don't.
makes it what I have to imagine was an actually difficult decision to poison his nephew.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's rough.
And so Baelor the Blessed is dead. And VZT2 comes in. It's a great. It's a little longer than a year, about a year to 2 years. He literally comes in, huge reforms, undoes Baelor's dumb shit, starts a royal mint, made efforts to increase trade across the Narrow Sea because he's married to
A
the
foreign woman.
yeah, foreign woman
Italian lady.
his father-in-law is the leader of one of the most powerful city-states of Essos,
Mhm.
and he creates a bunch of revisions to creates a progressive code of laws, and everyone is like, this guy is like a second Jaehaerys the Wise, and unfortunately he passes away. But VZT2, my favorite king, he did so much with little, so
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
VZT2!
VZT2! VZT2!
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his kids kind of suck. So one
Well,
of his
the
kids,
one of his kids
one
is
of
the
his
Dragon
kids
Knight.
is the Chad, Aemon the Dragon Knight.
Yeah.
However,
Mr. Knight.
yeah, Aemon the Dragon Knight.
Mr. Knight. if you will, please.
Is Aemon the Dragon Knight is in love with his sister, Nerys. However, Nerys marries their eldest brother, Aegon. Aegon, no. Aegon is a very handsome man.
Okay.
However, later he gets very fat.
Okay, so
Oh,
he's a
I
Henry
see.
VIII type.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
very
another
handsome
one.
in his youth.
We still rolling?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's rumors that he's married to his sister wife, but he is incredibly lustful, and he has true-born children. They have Daeron II, named after Daeron the First, and Daenerys.
Ooh, I know that name.
Not the one you're thinking of.
Oh, okay.
However, he has the following bastards because
Oh,
he's
God.
incredibly
Oh my
lustful.
gosh.
Damon Blackfire, which is had with is one of his cousins out of wedlock. So Damon Blackfire is Targaryen on both sides. Alysanne, Lily, Willow, Rosie, Bellanora,
Oh, quite a
Nara,
few.
Valerion, Aegor Bittersteel, Maya, Gwenys, Brynden Bloodraven, and Shara Seastar.
Are these in chronological order?
No.
He's star.
Yeah.
And like an important point is like a lot of kings probably had that many bastards, but
He
the point is
acknowledges
he
them.
was like did not
Open
give a
about
fuck
it,
about governing
yeah.
enough that he's just like, yeah, let me acknowledge 25 bastards.
Yeah, and so what's important is whoever he's fucking becomes powerful in court. So one of his mistresses was a Bracken. Remember those people?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And with
yeah.
them, he has Aegor Bittersteel, and one of his mistresses is a what do you call it?
Blackwood?
Blackwood, and with him he has Brynden Rivers, Brynden Bloodraven, Bittersteel's here. Blood Raven's here. Daemon Blackfire's Targaryen both sides.
One Raven looks
Sheriff
scary.
Seastar is half Lysini, which is the place that that foreign woman that so he's probably vaguely related to the lady
yeah.
he was begging, which would never stop.
Right.
And
Good.
but the important thing is he's
He's married to his sister.
he was a decadent, corrupt ruler, but the small folk kind of fucked with him because he was like he comes into the club and he's like free drinks for everybody and they're like
real.
yeah.
Well, it's like in the 80s where every comedy had a big, jolly, fat guy. You know what I mean? He's the John Candy of
He starts,
Westeros.
he's very handsome, but then he gets very fat. And so he fills this court with just a bunch of kiss asses.
Yeah.
He's a little bunch of kiss asses. He gives away priceless treasures just for on a whim. He gives a dragon egg to a guy just so he can fuck his daughter.
What the fuck?
Yeah. They don't hatch anymore, so it's kind of okay.
It's like whatever.
Okay.
Um,
Do they just have a stockpile of these eggs somewhere?
yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them have become petrified now.
But they're
People-
super rare, so it's like
That's kind of cool though.
it's like a small country's
It's like
worth of
the
wealth.
Here's where we start to have a big problem. Daemon, he has two primary sons, we'll say. The two eldest sons. Daeron the second, his trueborn son, who is bookish, he's brilliant,
Bookish.
but he's a nerd.
Yeah.
Oh.
He reads.
Yeah. He reads.
He
I
listens
see.
to women.
Boo! No, you.
Witch-
Sounds like
They're
witchcraft to me,
witches.
bro.
Come on, they're controlling
Yeah.
him.
And don't worry, we're down here now. We're here down by the we got here.
Yeah.
But
We've
he's not.
introduced all but 3 on the board.
He's wise, but he's very like. He's kind of a nerd.
So nobody likes him, even though he's objectively.
Damon, who's Targaryen
great.
on both sides, but a bastard, Blackfire, Daemon Blackfire, as he'll come to be known, is like he's a chat. They say he's the image of Aegon the Conqueror.
Okay.
He's a warrior.
Okay,
Here's the
yeah.
thing, though, Aegon gives him Blackfire, the ancestral sword, which is a symbol of rulership,
Yeah.
and he gives it to his
Yeah,
bastard.
that's maybe
Ugh.
not smart of him. I'm sure that won't cause the Blackfire rebellion.
Wars of Succession.
No, it's unrelated. Unrelated.
Am I
Completely.
allowed to start a chant for War of Succession?
No.
Aw.
And so now, however, Daeron starts as a smart dude. He gets his trueborn sister married to the Prince of Dorne, who's the ruler of Dorne. And in exchange, he then marries the Prince of Dorne's sister, and they form a peace. And then later, once the beginning of his
into the Empire?
yes, he is brought into the
Oh,
Empire.
nice. Shit.
However, it's rumored that Daemon Blackfire wanted to fuck Daenerys.
Okay.
Okay, so
Oh, some hot gossip.
and so he's starting to resent the Dornish.
Yeah.
At one point, Aegon IV tries to build artificial dragons. We don't really have much on that.
What?
It's just retarded.
Like
War
robots, or
yeah.
His whole reign is just him
War
trolling
of the
everyone.
Targaryens.
And so Aegon IV gets so. Oh wait, sorry. I just need to read this in full. At only 49 years of age, he had become so morbidly obese he could not walk anymore, making many wonder how his last mistress could endure his embrace. He died a horrible death, his bloated body so swollen that he could not even lift himself from his couch that became covered in feces. His
Ugh.
limbs were rotting and crawling in hosts of flesh worms, and the maester said they'd never seen the like of this before.
Are the flesh worms the same parasites that killed the big one?
No, these are just maggots, common maggots.
yeah, these are just common
What
maggots.
the large scaly beast parasites ever come up again?
No.
Do the large
This is
scaly
where-
beasts ever come up again?
Yes.
Okay.
This is
Or
where
they need them to
this
get
is
rid of the
where
White Walkers.
100 years of history comes toppling down.
Okay.
His last thing he does on his deathbed is legitimize all of his bastards.
Oh fuck.
Every single one of them?
Yeah.
That-
Now,
quite a
this
few?
nominally does not matter because Daeron is older than Daemon Blackfire,
Which is good.
Which is good.
And does he have the sword, or the Blackfire has the sword?
Blackfire's the sword.
Well, that's a problem.
And so in the beginning
So
of Daeron's
Blackfire has Blackfire.
yeah.
Cool.
Daeron's a cool ass dude. There is rumors that he's the bastard son of the Dragon Knight, who's since passed away. Are we still rolling?
Yeah.
Okay. There's, but I don't really think that's true. That's sort of people just
Okay.
didn't like him. He marries a Dornish woman, and there's resentment between those in the Reach and the Stormlands and the Dornish because they've been doing border
Yeah.
conflicts forever. And he puts a bunch of Dornish people in court, which they don't like.
Yeah, that's probably.
And he has 4 sons, which are various levels of Chad. There is Baelor Breakspear, who's epic warrior dude. Aerys the Wise, who's very wise.
Mhm.
Rhaegal, who is like completely schizophrenic, and Maekar, who's another Chad. Yeah.
How are there still warriors if they're all like in the same under the same people now?
What do you mean? Like they still have wars like bandits they have to fight. They compete in jousting tournaments.
I guess it's fair.
Yeah, you.
And if you guys remember, whenever there's like 4 or 5 really good candidates for succession, that means they'll all live a long life, and there won't be any tragic deaths.
And now
That's
the
complex.
Blackfire Rebellion passed out. Now remember, there are 2 bastards that came from those 2 rival Blackwood and Bracken families.
Yes.
Britain
must murder each
Bittersteel,
other
who's from the
immediately.
Goth one, or Bittersteel's from the Horse one, who's like a Bittersteel is
He's a
the spitting
brony.
image of like Oris Baratheon. Like he's a big fuck off 6.5 foot tall warrior dude with black hair. Bloodraven has one eye. He'll lose in a duel later with Bittersteel. And they both want to fuck their half sister Shira Seastar, but only Bloodraven gets that. Bloodraven is from the Goth Pussy family. He has one eye. He's a sorcerer. He's an albino. He's
You got a
pretty
lot
sick.
of fucking
That's pretty
modifiers.
cool.
Yeah.
He also has a
Pretty
giant birthmark that's shaped like a raven.
Yeah.
Hey, what's the pink mark?
That's
Is
the
that
birthmark. Yeah, he's a
Okay.
pink
That's
birthmark
cool.
shaped like a
That's
raven.
And Bloodraven is sort of raised by Daeron. He's his younger brother, but he's basically as old as his son, and he's
Okay.
fiercely loyal to Daeron. Bittersteel resents Bloodraven and by proxy Daeron.
That makes sense.
And he becomes friends with Daemon Blackfire.
Okay.
He convinces him that he should press his claim for the throne because he's the quote the king who bore the sword.
Yes.
And so
He has the king's
Blackfire
sword.
raises a bunch of people from the Reach Stormlands who hate the fact that the Dornish have influence now, and they fight a rebellion.
Okay.
Short, it's bloody, but it's fairly quick because there's one big battle. It looks like that they're winning. However, Blackfire fights a epic duel with Sir Gawain Corbray of the Kingsguard. Daemon wins, but because Daemon's still a good guy, even though Daemon, I think we made him as a brainlet here. He seems like a fine dude, just kind of easily manipulated by all these people who wanted to. But even though he beats Gawain Corbray in a duel, he makes sure that even though he's wounded, he makes sure that he gets safely off the battlefield.
Yeah.
But that chooses to be his undoing, because on a hill is Bloodraven with a bunch of archers, and they start raining down arrows at his position. Daemon has fucking so many. Daemon fucks, and he has like 2 billion crotch goblins he spawns. Where like Daemon has like something like 10 kids.
I think it's 12 or 13.
12 or
kids.
13 kids. His 2 eldest sons are there with him on the battle, squiring for him. One gets shot down, and he kneels down to tend to his doomed son.
Yeah. Oh, that's awful.
And that's what ends up getting Daemon Blackfire. The second youngest son tries to pick up the sword and then gets shot down as well. Yeah.
And Bloodraven has magic, heat-seeking arrows, so he probably personally shot each of them.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's kind of cool.
Now, Bloodraven will become an interesting ends justify the means guy because he will
do
do.
Blackfire sword.
I'll get there in a second.
Okay.
Bloodraven
Where's
does a
the
lot of
sister's sword?
the sister sword.
Yeah.
Dark sister.
Yes.
Bloodraven wields it.
Got it.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
There'll be a lot of fucked up things Bloodraven does, and some of them are justifiable. Here, he is deemed a grievous kinslayer for killing Daemon. However, this I will give him a pass on, where I won't, because he is trying to end this rebellion as prematurely as possible, so that it doesn't completely.
And I mean, it was a war against the same family, so how are you not going
I
to...
think that's valid. I think
Exactly.
that's so valid.
It's a civil war. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It is kind of comedic, though, because with his magic arrows, like, multiple times leading up to that big battle, like,
He
there were a
could've
ton
just
of, like,
done it.
powerful knights. No, and he just picked them off. Like, there's one guy who was, like, a powerful knight of the Kingsguard, and then he just shot him while he was, like, drinking from a river, like, a week before the battle. And so, like, using the arrows, he just kind of, like, ended the war
The
easily.
rebels begin to rout. However, Aegon River's Bittersteel, as he will be henceforth known, picks up Blackfire, and he leads a charge, and he's almost winning the battle. It's just now that 2 of them, because Daeron may be like a nerd, but remember he has 2 strong warrior sons.
Yeah.
One being Breakspear, and the other being Maekar. They're known as the Hammer and the Anvil after this battle, because they both lead 2 hosts.
Cool.
Both are like
Yeah, they're big.
6.5 foot tall.
Oh,
guy.
Yeah.
You might want to note, by the way, They're half Dornish. They both look. Three of his kids look Targaryen. Baelor just looks like a dude, like with dark hair. You might want to notice whenever they're the least inbred, they produce the most chads. So noted. They win the battle, and Bittersteel with the remaining crotch goblins of Daemon sail across the Narrow Sea and start a sellsword company called the Golden Company, whose goal is to restore the Blackfire to pretenders there. It's based on the English, what are they called? English, the Catholic kings who are
the Holy Roman Empire.
There's they're the Protestant and the Catholic kings, and then
Don't talk to us
rest
like
of
we're supposed to know
What?
this, bro.
Holy League?
No, there were a bunch of Catholic.
Was it holdouts after William the Conqueror took
No.
over?
No. It's a bunch of Catholic pretenders who wanted to. Fuck.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
This does not add anything. It's not worth Googling.
No, I just have to do it right now.
It's
Okay.
gonna hurt when you ever figure it out.
Are you throwing?
This is I'll let you say dragon this one time, okay? We're gonna chant. Get our spirit ready.
What?
Dragon time! Dragon time! Dragon time!
Dragon.
Yeah, see, I allowed you.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm hesitant.
rolling. Okay.
Yeah.
One more cut for the video dump. Anyways, Daeron wins. He is now the Golden Company is established across the sea, and he is the ruler. Is peaceful. This is going to be the third and last Pax Dragana or whatever.
Wow. But
So
this time they have
unfortunately through shenanigans, Baelor breaks fear. His king and heir, his heir and his son is killed during a trial by combat. That's a book series you can read called Dunk And Egg Novelas, which our cameraman can recommend. They're good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Who's Egg?
Egg is Aegon V.
Okay.
It's his nickname.
I'm not gonna go into his origin until I get to him real quick.
Okay.
But Baelor had two kids named Valar and Vitaris, but they both died. And eventually, Daeron dies of the spring sickness, which is like a plague.
Okay.
And
Huge
so
plague,
It
it's what
goes
it
to
is.
his first son, Aerys the Wise. He's very interested in ancient prophecies. He read a prophecy that spoke about the return of dragons. He was
I assume it's gotta be me. I gotta be the one.
Yeah.
he was married, but never consummated the marriage. He was basically an ascetic.
He loved books too much.
He loved books too much. During this time, Bloodraven rules the realm, and it will become like a panopticon, police state led by a goth prophecy man. However, it is deeply peaceful.
Well, unless you say Blood Raven is bad, then you get killed.
At one point, there's a second Blackfire rebellion in which the next oldest son of Daemon Blackfire tries to rebel but is taken hostage by Bloodraven. This is another one where it shows that Bloodraven maybe isn't. He's bloodthirsty, but this makes sense where he captures him alive because then none of the other claimants can try to make a play while the rightful Blackfire claimant is still alive.
Yeah.
And he dies under house arrest. We don't know how. My working theory would be that he killed himself to allow the next claim to go through.
Yeah.
There's a third Blackfire rebellion, which has a second duel between Bittersteel and Brynden Rivers. That's when Bloodraven loses his eye. However, he fucks up Bittersteel, who gets taken captive and taken to King's Landing. Bloodraven advocates that he's just killed outright. However, Jaehaerys the Wise, who's like a pretty chill guy, advocates that he instead be allowed to take the black. Taking the black means you join the Night's Watch. The Night's Watch I haven't really got into, but they're the people who operate the wall. If you join the Night's Watch, you say you'll take no wives, father no children. It is a monastic military order type deal. They aren't actually spiritual. Later on, it became a punishment. So that if you destroyed your foe in a civil war, they could take the black instead of being executed. And they could spend the rest of their lives defending the realms of men from the White Walkers. Later on, long story short, the reputation of the Night's Watch will decay as... Ideally, it's supposed to be the most prestigious military force because they got to stop the White Walkers.
Yeah.
But the White Walkers...
They made it into Australia.
As White Walkers are no longer, in living memory, it becomes a joke because people don't even think the White Walkers are real anymore.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that real quick? Just
Yeah, like by the time of the main book series, which is like after the end of all this history we're covering, people don't even know that White Walkers existed.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like a joke where it's like they're protecting the realm from fairy tales.
Yeah.
Like there's
From
nothing up
Grumpkins
there.
and Snarks.
Because they only know about the wildlings, but they're not very strong.
Yeah.
So like you're protecting it from like 6 guys with a battle axe.
Right.
But he allows Bittersteel to take the Black, but en route to Castle Black, he is intercepted and he is set free.
Lucky break.
Aerys's heir is the third brother, Rhaegal, who's schizophrenic. However, Rhaegal dies choking on a pie, which makes his final brother, Maekar, heir. And Aerys is a very peaceful realm. Like the rebellions happen, but then Bloodraven puts them out with like ruthless efficiency. Like they go really fast.
Yeah.
Each one goes faster than the last. And so that's another thing where you can say like, he was ruthless, but he did preserve the peace of the realm.
Yeah.
So
He was ruthless in the way that he needed to be.
yeah. So that is that. Maekar has 4 sons. He has Daeron the Drunken, who will end up dying of basically syphilis. With only one child who's a daughter, he gets passed over. He has Aemon, the second Aemon we'll talk of, named Aemon, I'm saying of Aegon. Aegon Brightflame, who's cruel, he's vain. Brightflame is because he believes sort of he's a dragon. And later on, he dies from drinking wildfire, which is like napalm, because he thinks he'll turn into a dragon.
And
He has one son named Maegor, who is a faux pas. No one has used the name Maegor since Maegor the Cruel, because it's like a faux pas.
Yeah.
And Aegon is such a cunt that he names his kid. He names his kid Maegor. Yeah.
Yeah, the way they like remember Maegor's legacy, that's like naming your kid Adolf Hitler. Like in their realm, that's like that's my son Adolf Hitler.
He has a third son named Aemon, who becomes a maester, much like Vaegon beforehand. Aemon will appear in the book series. He's the oldest character to appear in the book series. That's immortal. And he's a really nice dude. He's like a very nice old man by the time you meet him. And his final son is Egg, or Aegon the Fifth, who he is. You want to quickly explain his origin as with Duncan the Tall?
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly why, but he like tried to sneak away because he didn't want to be around his brothers.
Yeah,
and so he shaved his head because their hair color is only done by Targaryen, so they would have known and returned him. And so people said he was bald like an egg, so he got nicknamed Egg. But then basically he ends up traveling the realm with the knight and like actually learning that like peasants are people. And so like he ends up being a lot smarter and better than his brothers because he had to like actually live.
He's more worldly.
Yeah.
He has a worldly view.
Yeah.
He had to actually live like a real life for like 20 years
Lovely.
before
So he's
actually
a pretty
being a
cool
royal
guy.
again.
He Don Quixote's.
Yeah. So during
It's like reverse
Maekar's
Don
reign,
Quixote.
which is a sort of underdeveloped currently, but Maekar's a pretty good king. He's the last of like I think they say like his neck is as thick as like a bull's neck. Like he's strong, he's jacked, he's cool. He does some reforms, mostly because Bloodraven is sort of meat puppeting him. Maekar doesn't super care about. He wants to be a good king, but doesn't seem to be super involved in affairs of state.
Yeah.
However, there becomes a succession problem.
So there is a King Maegor the Second.
No.
Oh.
Well, Maekar is his name.
Oh,
Not
okay.
Maegor. And because his first son is dead, and his second son is a cunt and then dies, leaving his son Maegor. And he dies. Maekar dies because of the Peaks from earlier, House Peak, launch an uprising solo against the entire realm, and they start taking apart pieces of their castle and sending it on a catapult, and Maekar is crushed by the castle.
They had a foolproof plan though, because this time instead of naming their guy Unwin, they named him Will Win.
Yeah. And so afterwards, there's a succession crisis because the first son died, and he only left a girl who they said was feeble-minded as his heir, so she's passed over. His second son, Aegon Brightflame, has that kid Maegor. We'll call him Maegor Brightflame.
Who's technically the right heir.
Who should be the correct heir. However, they're worried he'll inherit his father's madness. He's just like an 8-year-old kid who does
Yeah,
nothing wrong to anyone, as far as we understand.
Other
And we
than
don't know what
being-
happens to him.
has royal blood.
Other than
Yeah.
being named Hitler and being the son of one of the craziest guys anybody's ever seen.
Yeah, but the kid himself is said to just be sweet.
Yeah.
Because he's 8.
Lovely. Yeah.
And then there's Egg is like the other main candidate. And at one point during this council, one of the Blackfires surviving ones that Bloodraven hasn't killed asks, "Hey, can we come over to the council and present our case for inheritance?" And Bloodraven says yes. And as soon as
No
they
way.
get granted safe passage, and as soon as they step off the boat, Bloodraven kills him. And for that, Egg is chosen as king, and his first action is to exile Bloodraven because
Kind of base.
no,
Kind of base.
he is a valuable advisor to have. However,
Right.
he violated guest right, which is a very important thing in medieval times, and especially in A Song of Ice and
Right.
Fire.
You cannot just kill,
and
especially royal guests.
and even if which Egg I'm sure doesn't like Bloodraven very much.
Yeah.
He thinks he's kind of creepy and weird in the book at least.
Yeah.
But regardless of what, even if you wanted him as a valuable advisor, the lords are not going to like it if you keep the guy who's already a creepy albino kinslayer, and now he's breaking oaths and shit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now he's just killing
He's
other
awful.
nobles.
Bloodraven becomes eventually leader of the Night's Watch, and will survive. Even though he's like 150 years old, he's still alive in the
He
time
takes
of the
the
books.
black. He goes to the
Um,
wall.
Because he becomes an immortal tree wizard. Yes.
Lovely.
That's
So
beyond the
he's
scope of...
so he's a blind albino
No, he has one
kinslaying- Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of modifiers.
Yeah.
So now he's a tree wizard.
Do you have something about Bloodraven you want to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think also part of the reason like Egg doesn't trust him at all is like because he's getting the view of the peasants.
Yeah.
Like that, like if you talk too much shit as even like a regular peasant, his
Yeah.
spies will get you.
Yeah.
Because like he is doing like the SS, where if you're
Yeah.
like I like the Blackfires, you get killed even if
Oh,
you're like
yeah.
a regular guy.
Yeah.
And so like having the perspective of the regular people, he knows
So
like
Eggs is just
some of the
Eggs is
fucked up
cool.
shit.
Yeah,
Bloodraven
he marries
does.
Betha Blackwood, the goth pussy house. So
Lovely.
yet again, so he does not do incest. Lost my place in the notes. So here, 1 second.
Just keyword search incest. I'm sure there's only a couple instances.
Aegon IV. So he marries Betha Blackwood. His child, the guy who raised him as a kid, Duncan the Tall.
That's
Dunk,
the knight
Dunk,
he hung
thick as
out
a
with.
lunk. He becomes Lord Commander of the Kingsguard.
Lovely.
He's honestly a pretty great king. There's a Blackfire Rebellion, the fourth one I don't really know much about, but it's like pretty pathetic, gets snuffed out. He has to deal with uprisings, and yeah.
And like the one problem with him is a lot of the uprisings are caused by his kids, him not being able to control them.
I'm gonna get to that. And also just because of the fact that he does a bunch of reforms for the small folk, and the lords aren't getting a little like, and so he has a few kids, right? His eldest kid is named Duncan, and he's betrothed. He's betrothed to Lionel Baratheon's daughter, House Baratheon, the Stormlands. But he falls in love with a peasant girl and runs off and marries her.
Oh, that's
And there's a
good.
short-lived
No, no, no.
rebellion where Lionel Baratheon, the Laughing Storm, as he's called, because all he loves is to fight and laugh and drink. He declares himself the Storm King for a very short period of time.
Oh, yeah.
And then they agree to marry off one of Egg's daughters to his heir in order to put things away.
Okay.
And this will be a
Very
reason
shrewd diplomatic play.
later figure named Robert Baratheon has dragon blood, and so this will be
Ooh,
impactful.
okay.
Even though
That's
he has
important.
he has dragon blood multiple times over because the Baratheons, Targaryens, you know.
Yeah.
And so because of that though, Duncan is uninherited. Prince Duncan.
Okay.
And so then his heir would be Jaehaerys the second, as he will become to be. And Jaehaerys and Shera are both betrothed to different people. However, they run away together to become incestuous. Because Egg wanted to end the practice of incest, and then his kids rebelled against him, and that's
Okay.
he has to put that down. It's not really a full rebellion, but that one's a whole diplomatic incident.
Yeah.
And finally, his youngest son, Daeron, is gay and just runs off on his betrothal as well.
He goes
So
to
all
San
of-
Francisco.
Yeah. He dies young fighting bandits because all he wants to do is fuck boys and fight.
Okay.
Real.
Yeah. And so Jaehaerys and his sister Shira, they wed. They're the heir, and they have 2 kids named Aerys and Rhaella. And these are Egg's grandkids.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want his grandkids to fuck because he's like, I already let my kids fuck. But there becomes a prophecy from a woods witch, which is like a traveling.
A
like,
real witch or just a wise woman?
You wanna weigh in on that?
Like in the book series, like there's varying levels of almost anybody who's like a crazy old truth seer. Part of what they say is true,
Okay.
but a lot of times there's a mixture of they are kind of crazy, but there's some prophecy. So
Got it.
it's kind of written in that way where it's like nobody who's considered crazy is completely
Okay.
insane, but also you don't take everything they say.
Your
as
brain
true.
has been touched by the gods.
Yeah,
bit,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you're crazy.
However, there's a woods witch who says that the chosen one who will bring back dragons to the world and save the world will be born from the line of Aerys and Rhaella. So his grandkids are allowed to do a 2nd generation straight of incest. Egg believes that he has dragon dreams, and he believes that he's gonna bring back dragons. He has a vision of dragons hatching. This is what I told you before about how Aegon's dream and the fact that they all have dragon dreams fuck them over. And he tries to hatch. Summerhall is like their summer home of the Targaryens.
Okay.
And Egg tries to hatch dragon eggs, and he ends up. I guess it causes an explosion or some shit.
Oh,
but he tries to hatch dragon eggs, and it kills like most of them.
So he accidentally sets off a bomb.
Yeah. And he is killed. His first kid is killed.
It's kind of ironic that Egg gets killed by an egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir Duncan the Tall dies saving Princess Rhaella, who's amidst the tragedy gives birth to Rhaegar, who's the son of Aerys, will be the second.
So he's the great grandson of Egg.
Great grandson of Egg is born as Egg dies.
Cool.
His son Jaehaerys II inherits. Not pictured. Jaehaerys II is the last good king. During time, there's the War of 9 Petty Kings, which is like the last Blackfire rebellion. It's not important, but like the last Blackfire pretender is defeated there.
Okay.
Oh, and you do gotta explain Meleys the Monstrous.
Okay,
That guy's
Meleys the
funny.
Monstrous is the last Blackfire claimant. He absorbed his twin while in the womb, and so he has an extra head on his thing. He's like 7 feet tall. He's giant. And he has a second
twin.
Yeah, which is dead, but it's just there, like in his neck.
Right.
And so he gets killed, thankfully, by Barristan himself,
Thankfully.
a young knight from the Stormlands, who's then allowed to join the King's Guard.
Cool.
His reign is otherwise peaceful. And then when he dies, his son Aerys II, who will later be known as the Mad King, is
He
is-
looks a little off his rocker.
So he's actually pretty great in the beginning. He's best friends with Tywin Lannister. Tywin Lannister is the richest man of the realm, who is the head of House Lannister in the Westerlands. They're boys. And he's married to Rhaella.
His sister.
He gives birth to Rhaegar.
He gives birth?
She gives birth to Rhaegar.
Congrats.
However, there's tension starts beginning between Aerys and his best friend Tywin. Because he's sort of in love with Tywin's wife, Joanna Lannister.
Oh.
And it's rumored that he might have taken her virginity before Tywin got her.
Oh.
But he puts Tywin as his hand of the king, and Tywin is brilliant. He's an asshole. He's proud. He's insecure.
Yeah.
But he's brilliant.
All the best qualities.
He's sort
you
of
want in
a-
somebody in a position
He's sort of
of
like
power.
like Otto von Bismarck,
Ah.
like that sort of
Ah.
like hand of the king type guy. But he's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
like deeply fucked up. He's got a bunch of self-loathing.
Okay.
Read the book series. He's in the book series.
Cool.
He's a really fascinating character, and actually played by Charles Dance in the show. And the realm prospers in the early part due to Tywin. Aerys, however, thinks it's because of him, and it starts going to his head. And Rhaella has difficulties with childbirth. She has a bunch of stillborn babies.
That's what happens
Finally-
when your entire bloodline is a one
Yeah.
big circle.
Finally,
Yeah, they're post-Habsburg level incest.
Yeah.
yeah. Finally, Joanna Lannister dies in
This
childbirth.
is Ptolemaic
Um,
levels.
Yeah, and giving birth to the son Tyrion Lannister, played by Peter Dinklage in the show, and it
Wow.
devastates Tywin. So Tywin's sort of like on the fritz here, and the king starts to kind of go mad here. He gets violent, suspicious, and erratic. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because he starts to think that Tywin's against him, so he'll mistreat Tywin, which then very much starts to put Tywin against him. Another son is born, Viserys, who will go on to become Viserys III. And he's the second, so he has now 2 healthy sons.
Cool.
And gets very paranoid though. He makes sure that like he's always under lock and key by the King's Guard. And at this point, Tywin proposes a marriage between his daughter Cersei and Prince Rhaegar. However,
That's valid.
however, the hand of the king. However, Aerys rejects it. It's then this is the big turning point for Aerys, and when she becomes truly Aerys the Mad, is when there is a rebellion in Duskendale, which is right here, and they hold the king hostage for an extended period of time. And it's probably Tywin was behind it.
Oh.
Tywin Rhaegar, his son and heir, is a Chad, and everybody loves him.
Yeah.
And it's probably true. Tywin probably orchestrated this to try to get rid of Aerys. Go ahead.
Well, isn't it like the whole thing was like a minor tax dispute?
Yeah.
And then Tywin was like, you should go in person.
Yeah.
You should go in person and meet them. And then they took him captive as soon as the king
And
showed
tortured
up.
him for like a year. And so it doesn't excuse anything Aerys goes on to do, but it's understood why he became the broken, mad, paranoid person.
Right. Yeah,
He
yeah,
went
yeah.
through, like
A full
fully
year of torture.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and eventually Barristan Selmy, the same guy who killed
Meleys
Meleys the Monstrous, goes in and like dresses like as a peasant, goes in and solos the entire garrison and escapes with Aerys.
And he like
And-
climbs up the castle. And it's like, isn't it an island?
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
no, it's not an island. It's just a
Okay, but he
castle.
like climbs the castle, sneaks into the dungeon, grabs the king, and escapes.
kills like several dozen garrison guys.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Escapes with the king on his back, even though he's been shot by a bunch of arrows, survives. And Aerys has the entire family, save one kid who Barristan asked him to spare, decimated, and that house is wiped out. And so Aerys has become fully mad. Eventually, he fires Tywin, and
After the little oopsie at Duskendale.
Fires or like
not because of
murders?
that. But eventually Tywin
Regular
resigns
fires.
because he's been
okay.
insulted too many times, and he becomes for a hot second he brings Lord Steffan Baratheon to court, who's both of their friends, and he wants him to go find a Valyrian bride for Rhaegar, but he dies in a shipwreck. And so Storm's End will be ruled by a young king named Robert, or young slip of the tongue, a young Lord Paramount named Robert. And he also at this point brings in Varys, who's a shifty spy master from the east. Finally, Rhaegar gets betrothed to Elia Martell, one of the a princess of Dorne, not Cersei. They're married. They have 2 kids together, and that Aerys just gets really fucked up and he's obsessed with fire. Tywin's out of the picture, there's no one to pitch him. Eventually, right at the end of his reign, these people called the alchemists who basically build napalm for a living.
Okay.
And eventually, he puts the head napalm maker as his hand of the king. It's not good.
Yeah.
Eventually, there is a tournament. I'm fast forwarding since there's so much detail here, but it's like read the books.
Right.
I'm going to RL plus L equals J. It's not official. Can you just say it's not? Can you explain real quickly? It's not official canon, but
It's a theory that is like basically completely
I'm about to say
confirmed.
a
They
theory
did it
that's-
in the show.
yeah.
And no. So the book series hasn't gotten there yet,
Yeah.
but it's one of those theories that's like almost 100%
Rhaegar,
true.
the crown prince, is married to Elia Martell,
Yeah.
and he has 2 kids with her. However, he falls in love with Lyanna Stark,
Ooh,
the
okay.
daughter of Thing, and they run away together.
Of the North?
Yeah,
Yep.
and they don't send word that like, hey, I ran away with her, and also second wife and all that.
Yeah.
And this causes a rebellion because Sir Robert Baratheon, the Lord of Storm's End, was betrothed to Lyanna, and in his mind, his betrothed was kidnapped.
And everybody
stolen
thinks she
by
got
the king.
kidnapped.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
thinks she got kidnapped and raped and whatever by Rhaegar.
Yeah.
Important thing, he was betrothed to. Stormlands was betrothed to the north. They had alliance. His childhood friend is Eddard Stark, the Lord Paramount of the Eddard Stark, a son of the Lord of the North. And also, the North will go on to become allied with the Riverlands and the Vale. So there's a big alliance here.
Yeah.
And they were both like raised in the Vale,
Yeah.
and basically both of their surrogate father was the current Lord of the Vale at this
Yeah.
point.
And basically, eventually, the Lord of the North, Lord Roderick Stark, and his son Brandon go down to try to see. They go to King's Landing, to try to sort out what happens. And he ends up, Aerys, through shenanigans, ends up basically having both of them killed.
Oh, great.
And he demands Robert and Eddard, who would now be the de facto Lord of the North, are in the Vale, being fostered by
Jon Arryn.
Jon Arryn. And he demands that Jon Arryn surrender both of them. And instead, that North, the Vale, and the Stormlands all break out in rebellion. And this is known as Robert's Rebellion. Describe Robert Baratheon.
Well, you got to tell the certified Mad King moment of how
okay, go for it. Go
so
for it.
he basically gets suspicious of the Lord of the North who came to like argue with him.
Right.
Yeah.
And he decides that he's guilty of treason, but the guy demands a trial by combat, which is something you can do in their religion.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like you can fight it out. You both select one guy, but the Mad King selects fire as his champion, and so he just cooks the Lord of the North alive. And at the same time, his son, who's there, he puts in a contraption where he's like got a noose around his neck, but it gets tighter if he tries to go to help his father.
What the
But he
fuck?
puts a sword
that's
just out of his
awful.
reach, so he's
Yeah.
like trying to grab it to free himself.
Not the
And so the guy demands a trial by combat, which like legally is like a cornerstone. You're supposed to do that.
Right, and
And
he
he
just he's told to fight the fire.
in publicly, like meticulously, Rube Goldberg machine executes both
Yeah,
of them.
that's awful.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And then describe Robert Baratheon for them. Sorry,
He's, I mean, as is becoming a theme with different characters, he's like a 6.5 foot tall giant
so
warrior.
a lot of people in this world are
Thundercock.
6.5.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a Chad. Just a total Chad.
Yeah.
Yeah, loves drinking and fighting, and doesn't. In the actual book series, goes on to not really care about being king that much, but
Okay.
he just loves like.
And in the
He
beginning,
loves
was
war and winning battles and like
it's
fighting
important
people.
to point that even though he goes on to be like a whoremonger, like lustful guy, he was deeply in love with Ned Stark's sister, who's said to be kind of ugly. And so it's implied that Robert had a depth to him when he was younger that was kind of lost after his love was lost. So there's a lot of nuance to Robert.
Yeah,
Baratheon.
yeah.
But basically, TLDR, Robert does win. They form an alliance with the Riverlands as well.
Because Ned Stark, the guy left in the north, ends up
Yeah.
marrying the
Yeah.
daughter in the Riverlands.
As well as the Vale marries into the Riverlands. The Westerlands stay out of almost the entire war.
Because Tywin's pissed
And
at
so it's
the...
the Reach
Mad
and
King.
the Dorne against the rest of them. Rhaegar is MIA for almost the entire war until he comes right back at the end, and Robert kills him in single combat. Robert wields a warhammer, and Rhaegar is wearing the house sigil of the dragon on his back, and the hammer falls and breaks the
great
dragon's
choice.
sigil.
And the new king
and
is
Rhaegar.
crowned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so Aerys is trapped in the city. He wants to burn all of King's Landing and bring it down with him.
Mhm.
Tywin, however, shows up. His old friend. It's like, open the gates! It's me, I'm your friend! We're gonna do this. And Aerys is like, I'm thinking no. And I'm gonna burn them all. And importantly, Tywin's son, Jaime Lannister, is one of his Kingsguard. And Jaime is like, he's
Conflicted.
like, bring me the head of your dad. And then we're gonna blow up the entire city with us inside. And Jaime's like, and Jaime kills the king, and he's known as the Kingslayer.
Well, but I think,
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
the order of events, though, Varys convinced him to let Tywin into the
Yeah.
city, and then Tywin starts sacking King's Landing because
Yeah.
he was actually there to kill Aerys, so he
Yeah.
could get in good
Okay.
with the winners.
Yeah.
Like, he knew Aerys was going to lose, so he wanted to take the city, so when Robert showed up, he'd be like, look, I was on your side.
Hey, I'm on your
Yeah.
side. Here's the city.
So then he locks himself in, like, the inner keep, and is like,
Yeah.
I'm going to blow it all up.
Yeah.
And then Jaime's like, go kill your dad.
And
I'm gonna blow up
Jaime
the city.
Lannister, ironically, he's a very complex
But he's already
character.
lost the city.
Jaime's
Yeah.
a complex character. He's one of the greatest fictional characters ever written, and it's just funny because he'll later be derided as Kingslayer, and he'll become a kind of shitty person. But this is like the one. This is the best thing Jaime ever does is
Yeah.
not let a city get detonated.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
nice.
You got good points for that.
And with that dead, Robert claims the throne. Now the question is, where was Lyanna Stark, who was kidnapped? She was in the Tower of Joy giving birth to Rhaegar's son that she's having because they was in love.
And in reality, they
This
just
child's
eloped.
name
Yeah,
is...
they just eloped. And the child's name, we don't know what maybe the original name was, but the child's name will become Jon. And it will be
yes.
Jon Snow, which will be one of the central
He's
characters
like
of the book
significant
series.
because he
Yes.
wants to be the king, or
Well,
He doesn't
He's the
even
rightful
know
king.
the
Yeah,
true thing yet.
yeah. So Robert takes the throne. Ned Stark is the one who frees his sister. She dies in childbirth, giving birth to Jon. He knows that Robert hates the Targaryens. Robert has Rhaegar's
Because he thinks
children.
Rhaegar.
Yeah, he has
raped her.
Rhaegar's children's killed because in revenge for he thinks Rhaegar like raped and murdered his bride to be. Still rolling good.
Mhm.
that's been a really bad misconception
Yeah,
for
and
everyone
so
involved.
Ned
That
knows
should's
there's
on a
no way.
newsletter.
Ned knows there's no way he can walk in with like Rhaegar and Lyanna's kid and not have that thing just be like yeeted.
Yeah.
So he says, "This is my bastard son, Jon Snow."
And also,
Okay.
his sister asked him to promise he's going to protect
to keep
the
him
kid.
safe. Yeah. Promise me that. And so Robert becomes king, and so in the beginning of the book series, the last Targaryens are Viserys, the younger son of Aerys the Mad, and his younger sister
This
Daenerys.
is Viserys.
Yeah.
Daenerys
Sarah's
is
3, yes.
Daenerys is born as like all the shit's happening during the war. As the last her mother dies in childbirth, Rhaella, and Viserys and Dany have to exile to the Free Cities, and they are constantly dodging like assassins and Robert trying to have them killed to make sure there can never be a target or in restoration. And I won't explain everything else that happens after Robert's Rebellion because that's like the setup for the book series. I'll just say what happens to the Targaryens. In the beginning of the book series, Viserys and Dany are trying to figure out a way to get back to reclaim the throne. Viserys the Third makes a deal with a Dothraki horse lord who's like Genghis Khan. His name's Khal Drogo. He's played by Jason Momoa.
Khal Drogo?
Yeah,
That's
like the Rocky character.
Khal Drogo, not
Drago.
Ivan Drago.
Ivan Drago.
Oh, okay.
So all O's this
Close
time.
enough.
Yeah, who's played by Jason Momoa, aka Aquaman.
Okay.
And he makes the deal that if Khal Drogo can marry Daenerys, and then he will reclaim the Seven Kingdoms for him.
Okay.
Because they have a huge ass army.
Viserys,
Mongols,
they're
basically.
getting ready. They got all these horse people, and Viserys and Khal Drogo are going to retake Westeros.
Yeah.
And then Viserys is killed. He pisses off Khal Drogo, and he dumps molten gold on his head.
Yeah, Viserys is like a total dipshit.
That's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
a cool way to execute.
Through a series of shenanigans, Dany marries Khal Drogo, grows to love him, becomes pregnant with his child. Child dies, born stillborn. Khal Drogo dies, and in his funeral pyre.
Well, she makes a deal with a witch that
Yes.
she gives her child's life
just
up.
read
to
the book.
save him.
I'm just
yeah,
getting to it.
that's
But
true.
she has 3 dragon eggs. Her last release ever was 3 dragon eggs, dead husband, dead baby. She puts the dead husband and dead baby into a pyre and walks in herself with the dragon eggs. However, the next morning she is unburnt and there are 3 baby dragons.
And they
And
have
that's-
returned.
And that is the end of book 1 of Game of Thrones. So
Let's
read the
go.
books. We are left with House Targaryen at the end of book 1. It's just Daenerys, but she has hatched dragons. However, to the north, the White Walkers are back. The first
yes.
chapter of the first book
Yeah, but now
is
they
a
got
guy
the creatures
is a
back.
guy being killed by White Walkers.
And also,
They've
Jon
returned.
Snow, like since he's also Targaryen, in the
Yeah.
first book, joins the Wall because he thinks he's a bastard and there's no place for him.
Yeah.
So you have the 2 Targaryen characters: is Jon Snow on the Wall, who thinks he's a Stark bastard,
Yeah.
and then
And
Daenerys
Jon's really
Targaryen
the
has
king,
dragons.
so it's
Rightful
like,
king.
Yeah.
So, as the last note, I will say, read the books. Read the books. Read the books. Any final questions about House Targaryen?
No, that was pretty cool.
No, that was pretty good. That was
Alright,
pretty
thank you.
concrete. Yeah.
I wish
love
you would
that.
have, gone a little more slow,
Yeah.
because I feel like you.
All right.
Get
It
into
only
more
took 5
details.
hours.
I want to
Yeah.
get more details about the character.
In the name of Maegor the Second Targaryen, second of his name, we hereby sentence you to death for crimes of blasphemy and uttering the forbidden word. Do you have any last words?